And please join me in a salute to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we have a roll call, please, Cam? I'm sorry, sunshine announcement first.
Yes, Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 6th, in the year 2025, and this is a Jersey City Planning Board meeting with a scheduled 5:30 p.m. start time. And in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting has been given to the editor of the Bergen Record, Phyllis Salico, and posted with the city clerk on Friday, May 2nd of this year. This meeting was also posted with the Jersey City Division of City Planning Department and posted on our webpage, and all distribution materials have been made available to the board, were published, and made available to the public.
Okay, thanks, Cam. Could we have a roll call now, please?
Yes, Chairman. Okay. Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Commissioner Dongadin.
Here.
Commissioner George. Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Dr. Slade. Commissioner Patel.
Here.
And Chairman Langston.
Here.
And we have 7 commissioners present. We have a quorum.
Test one? No. Yeah, it's on. Okay, it doesn't work.
No?
No. Test one, check.
And we're missing a mic here.
Okay. And for the record, we've marked into evidence B1, the sunshine announcement.
Okay, thank you.
Test one, check. Testing, testing. Test one. We just shifted.
Test.
All right, Mike, could we swear in the staff, please?
I see Joe, Matt, Ben. Cameron, you guys want to just read tonight, give me the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Do we have correspondence, Cam?
Yes, Chairman. Under new business, item 16, case P2024-0139, address 285 Liberty Avenue. They've requested to carry with preservation of notice to June 10th. We received correspondence today from their attorney, Benjamin Wine. And then item 21 on the agenda, under new business, case P2024-0199, address is 10 Exchange Place. They've requested to carry with preservation of notice to June 10th. Also, we received correspondence with their attorney, Linda. And then last item on the agenda, item 22, case P2024-0245, address 33 McAdoo Avenue. Their attorney, Benjamin Wine, has requested to carry with preservation of notice to June 10th. And that concludes correspondence.
Okay, thank you, Cam. So let's get into old business. Item A is case P2025-0061 is a one-year extension for 414 to 432 Hoboken Avenue. Good evening, counsel.
Good evening. Gregory Asadorian from the Dakotas Law Firm on behalf of the applicant. We submitted a letter on March 28th, 2025, setting forth the basis for the extension request. So I really rely upon the letter, but I'll just briefly touch upon it. We're looking for 2 one-year extensions on this matter under NJSA 40:55D-52E. Section E states that when a property that was approved has more than 100 residential dwelling units, this board can provide a reasonable period of time as an extension. And what it does, it takes into account the number of the dwelling units, the economic conditions, and the comprehensiveness of the development. In this matter, we did previously receive extensions, but however, we're looking for two additional one-year extensions because this project entails two 28-story mixed-use buildings. It's a total of 524 units. There's going to be 7,000 square feet of retail, 29,000 square feet of office, and almost 6,000 square feet of pedestrian plaza. When I was here last year, I received a one-year extension, and at that point in time, I had advised that we were trying to get demolition permits, and it took my client 9 months to get the demolition permits. Since then, he did get the demolition permits. He demolished the structures on the site and found out that there's historic fill on the property, which means it's contaminated. So my client is going to have to remediate the site. He's going to have to dig probably 2 to 5 feet in different places to clean it. There's fill, there's silt, there's gravel, all that has to be removed, which obviously is a great cost. In addition to that, obviously he has to prepare the construction drawings. And when we look at the financial market conditions today, they affect the property. And specifically, you look at the tariffs that are being proposed on again and off again. There may or may not be a potential of material shortages. And what this does is it creates a uncertainty with construction costs. And when you have an uncertainty with construction costs, you also have uncertainty with construction lending. So basically, we're seeking 2 additional one-year periods of time to able to address the remediation that's been found at the site and also address the other items that I've brought to your attention.
Okay, thank you, counsel. And that extension that you received previously, that was just your first extension?
No, there was 3 1-years that were granted. It was 3 different times 1 year.
Okay.
But under Section E of the statute that I read to you, it doesn't limit certain projects if they're over 100 residential units or over 150,000 square feet of commercial space. It doesn't limit it to 3 one-year extensions. It actually says it's within the board's discretion to give a reasonable period of time.
Okay, thank you, counsel. Any questions, anybody?
Yeah, so Chairman, we have dealt with this before. I refer to them as the large-scale projects, but Mr. Asadorian is correct. Under that section of the statute, there are parameters with respect to number of units, size and scale if it's commercial, and things of that nature. And the statute actually advises the board that it's within their reasonable discretion. I think Mr. Asadorian has laid the case for why they're seeking the extensions that they're seeking. And given that, I think the board could extend this more than 1 year in whatever the board is comfortable with in the manner in which it is a request for 2 one-year extensions. In my opinion, based on the representations of council, I have no issue with that as whether or not it's reasonable.
Agreed. I think in this circumstance, 2 one-year extensions are reasonable. So, yeah, I have no problem with that. If there's no other questions, let's open it up for public comment. Is anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application? Sure, come on up.
Swearing testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
For the record, please state and spell your name and give us your home.
Kulowski Mike, Kulowski.
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you.
Yes, this is basically a public subsidy. If you consider some variance or favor from the city to developer, it's a public subsidy. So I request to the planning board ensures that the local people are hired at any construction site on this project.
Okay,
I
this
observed
is
there's a human trafficking at the wholesale on construction sites in Jersey City. Like you heard about the Maryland man, well, he got 9 illegal aliens back then, 2019, including himself. That's nothing comparing what happens here in Jersey City. So I request that this will be put in writing and the protocol be in place. All local people are employed on this construction site.
I got it. So first of all, I completely agree with you
Thank you.
that this is a problem. I, this is kind of what I do for a living. I'm a union organizer. So I would love to have you in my truck with me one day and look at this.
Thank you.
But this is a land use board. We can't tie labor issues to a project.
Why not? It's a favor from the city, right?
It's not a favor. It's a legal agreement. It's not a
but city
favor.
it's a discretionary part of the city, correct?
Sure.
So,
But it's a land use issue. It's not a
Okay.
labor issue. Believe me, sir, if I could tie labor issues to land use issues, we'd have a very different board here. Very different. So we can't consider labor issues on a land use board. Bottom line, it's out of our jurisdiction. I wish we could, and if we could, I would.
I disagree with you. Okay, thank you.
We're going to agree to disagree then. But thank you. Thank you for your time. Anybody else from public?
Seeing no more public, I move to close.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Cam, do you have anything you want to add?
Yes, Chairman. So, planning staff asked that all the conditions of the approval granted by the planning board on February 18th of 2020 under case number P19-143 remain in effect and are reflected in the resolution of this extension.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, council. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion at this time to approve case P 2025-0061 as presented to our board tonight.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gongadin.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres. Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries all in favor with conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Council. All right, let's move on to item B, case P 2025-0055 is a one-year extension request for 477 Ocean Avenue.
Good evening,
Good evening,
Chairman. Good
Counsel.
evening, Commissioners. My name is Gerard Pizzillo. I'm an attorney with Genova Burns. I'm appearing this evening on behalf of the applicant, Ricardo Ramos. Mr. Ramos is the owner of 477 Ocean Avenue. It's block 25101, lot 22, located in the turnkey redevelopment area governed by the provisions of that plan. We're here requesting our first one-year site plan extension for the approval that board granted under case P21068, which is essentially just a rehab with two additions to create a three-story, four-unit building. There were two variances that were approved as part, deviations, I should say, approved as part of that application. Minimum or roof appurtenance setback and a building coverage variance. Basis for the one-year extension. My client had some issues with his architect. She passed away, and there were some issues with the family in releasing plans, so that kind of put him off track a little bit. He got jammed up with a little bit of the financing, but I did have a conversation with him this morning. Subject to this board granting our extension, he's ready, willing, and able to move forward and start pulling the permits on this. The only thing I would add is we understand that there are conditions from the prior approval, and my client agrees that they continue to remain in effect, and he's subject to the same. That'll conclude my presentation. Happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Okay, thank you, council. Anyone, any questions?
No.
Okay, is there anybody here from the public that wants to comment?
Seeing no public, I move to close.
Second.
All right, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Cam, this is yours too.
Planning staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P 2025-0055 as presented to our board tonight.
Second.
All right, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gongadin.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres. Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries all in favor with conditions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, council. All right, let's move on to item C, is case P2024-0210 as a preliminary and final major site plan with C variances for 2966 Kennedy Boulevard and 69 Cottage Street. This was carried from March 25th with testimony taken. Good evening, council.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. As you stated, we were here before the board on March 25th, and there was some testimony taken. There were some open issues, and with regard to the plans and who was in attendance. So we have everybody here tonight. We have checked on the portal. We believe that everything that we submitted is available to the board as well as the public. And we'd like to then proceed tonight. Again, is just a brief recollection or refresher. This is a project that it has an approval in place for 35 stories. My client, in short, is looking to do it is a new application, a new project that incorporates the most recent amendments that were passed by the City Council in August of 2024 to increase the building, in this instance, to 56 stories above the 35 that was originally approved. But it would include 10%, actually it's 11.5% affordable units, 63 affordable units. The prior project did not have any affordable units. So that's
Counsel, I hate to do it, you're on a roll, but I do have to check. We only have 4 commissioners here tonight that were at that March 25th meeting. So, Vice Chair, did you have a chance to review the testimony?
I reviewed the testimony.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Desai, did you review the testimony? Okay, and Commissioner Patel, did you read the
Yes, I have.
testimony? Okay, thank you, Counsel. We have
Thank
a
you.
quorum.
I appreciate that. So that is, a big difference here. We are proposing a larger project with 542 units with 63 affordable units where none existed before. It would still have the hotel component, still have the same number of parking spaces, restaurant, banquet hall. There is an existing foundation there that they started construction. They're 5 stories up. So there's an issue with the structural integrity, if you will, of what's been built so far. So we do have our structural engineer here to address that. We did submit a structural report as part of this application. And we also have all our other experts here. So what I would like to do is kind of just start off with our civil engineer just to lay the foundation as to what's there now. Because as was discussed at the last meeting, this is a new application, so we can't grandfather in or bootstrap anything that was approved initially. This is all new. The variance is all new. But the difference is we do have structure there, and that is a reality of the application before the board. So I'm going to ask my civil engineer just to address that so the board can see that. They were not present last time. And then we'll move back to Mr. Vandermark. Then I have our structural engineer and our planner. I also have our traffic engineer if there's any questions during the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Counsel.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, I do. Sure. My first name is Afton, A-F-T-O-N. Last name Savitz, S-A-V as in violin, I-T-Z.
Good evening, Ms. Stavitz. I don't believe we've qualified you in the past, have we?
I don't believe we have.
Okay, if you could just go through your background a little bit, your education and your licensing.
Sure. I earned a Bachelor's of Science from Bucknell University. I've been practicing in the land development field as a civil engineer for over 12 years. I do have experience in front of many municipal land use boards, inclusive of also the Hudson County Planning Board. And the business address is 92 Park Avenue, Rutherford, New Jersey, 07070. I am licensed in the state of New Jersey, and it is in good standing.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Great.
Okay. Ms. Savitz, just for the record, the plans that you're going to refer to are consistent with, or they are the plans that are on the portal, is that correct?
They are correct. Previously submitted to the board.
Okay, and if you could, for the benefit of the board and the public, if you could take us through the site to show what is existing there, and if you could advise if what is there is consistent with what was approved previously in the existing approval.
Sure. So this is the cover sheet or sheet 1 of 8 previously submitted to the board, the site plan. For the record, the date of it is April 16th, 2025. And I'll zoom into the aerial map on the left-hand side just to refamiliarize the board with where we are. So we are at that southeast corner of Cottage Street and Kennedy Boulevard, on that corner where you see the project site indicated with the outline of the approximate property line. And this is due north as you see it on this aerial map. I will transition to the site plan sheet. It will rotate counterclockwise 90 degrees just for your orientation. So this is the third sheet. This is the site plan, ground floor plan. And what you're seeing here, again, Kennedy Boulevard is now on the bottom of the page, though somewhat angled, Cottage Street on the left-hand side. What you're seeing in the gray hatch is the building outline as indicative of the ground floor plan. And as council mentioned, the construction was previously terminated in progress. The site plan that's been submitted to the board is consistent with the ground floor plan to that of the previous application and as in progress today.
Okay, I think at this point, unless the board has any questions, I really just wanted to establish that what has been built is consistent, which the plan that was approved previously, and then move on to Mr. Vandermark, and he can speak to as it goes up, because that's, and the variances that we're requesting as part of it.
So the only question I had, I think you were alluding to or mentioned something about structural integrity and, from where it was to where it's going. Could you speak to that?
No, we have our structural engineer to speak to that.
Thought she was. My apologies.
You're going to make her nervous.
I can speak to the building footprint, but not how it's held up.
Okay, so
So, you're speaking on this plan here. The in and out of the driveway has that.
Eddie, is your mic on?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I hit it? Speaking on this plan here, what I'm seeing now, as I was looking at what was presented to me, the in and out of the driveway, does that change at all on any of the other structure drawings, or
Relative to the previous design, is that what you're asking?
well, relative to the previous design, or? Hello, can you hear me? No.
If you speak through Commissioner Gangadin's microphone,
Okay.
you know well.
How about that?
Board Secretary
Is that better?
troubleshoots.
It remains consistent, the location of the driveway.
And there's
Eddie,
a-
we do have to get your question out again, though, because it's not technically on record right now.
Okay, the question I was having is that on this drawing now and what was built, that's what you're showing us, right? And I just wanted to make sure that the driveway is not gonna change, or is it the way it's built now that I'm seeing on this drawing?
The driveway location will remain the same as originally designed.
And there was a in and out way for the cars to come in and out, facing, like when they come out, they're facing the road. There was no backing out into the street at all.
If I could jump in, that's correct. The programming of the ground floor that you're looking at now is the same and consistent with what the prior approval was. And we can, Mr. Vandermark can address how that works during his presentation, because it's an elevator system. So they go up, and then you pull in, you go up,
Okay.
and you come back down, and you're facing out, and you pull out.
Okay. All right, then I could wait for that too. All right.
Okay, any other questions at this point?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead, counsel.
Okay, so now I'm going to move forward with Mr. Vandermark. As the board may recall, I think he only got into a few slides last time, so I'm going to ask him to start at the beginning for the benefit of the members that weren't
Thank you.
here. So we'll start at the beginning again.
Third time is a charm.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
And as he's setting up what's on the screen now was marked as A2 at the last meeting.
And nothing's changed on there since?
We have added one slide. That would be slide approximately 7 deck. And we have uploaded that onto the portal at least 2 weeks ahead of time. The board has that in front of them as part of the slideshow.
For the record, Mr. Santos, should we, Mr. Lampe, mark this as A3?
The entire slide deck?
Yeah, just to distinguish between the two, is that easier? Or just referencing the seventh slide,
Which is this slide here in front of you.
is that adequate? For
So
the record?
because it's mixed in with the slide deck, let's mark the entire slide deck as A3. We'll talk about the new sheet when we get to it. We're going through all the slides? I assume we're going through number 7 since it's new.
We do have a brand-new application, so I do have to at least put on the record the entire project, right?
I have no issue with going through all the slides. Sometimes we don't. That's why I asked, but
Some faster than others.
I'm here all night, Mr. Harrington.
Let's go through all the slides.
Sure.
You swear any testimony you give tonight's going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you spell your name?
Absolutely. That's Anthony C. Vandermark Jr., Principal of MVMK Architecture.
Good evening, Mr. Vandermark. We've qualified you in the past. We qualified you at the 25th, the March 25th meeting. Your license is still current tonight?
Good evening, Chair. Yes, still current tonight.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Much appreciated. Okay, so before you, as previously stated, the site is located at the southeast corner location of Kennedy Boulevard and Cottage Street. Overall site area is 20,800 square feet, which is the equivalent of just about less than a half an acre. Project site is roughly 60% greater than the base average of Zone 3 here in the redevelopment plan, which is 12,500. So this site area is actually greater than what is the base Zone 3 site area for this type of height in construction. As previously mentioned, we have a 5-story constructed podium. Again, this proposal is a 56-story tower that will sit on this pre-existing 5-story podium. You're looking at here the corner of the intersection of Cottage Street and Kennedy Boulevard. Kennedy Boulevard, as everybody knows, is a 3-lane highway on both sides at this intersection, and Cottage Street is a one-way running east to west. It has a 3-laned turn aisles at this intersection. Scale is already in this immediate neighborhood. Directly behind you in this photograph, or to the east, is part of the Homestead Place construction. 5-story podium south looking north, again, pre-constructed, and we are adding, again, 51 stories to this podium. Proposal here is a 56-story tower. The lower half of the building has a ACM clouding system, and then the top of the tower sets itself back in a couple of feet at different locations and comes back up, following the same building form in a curtain wall system. As part of the application, we'll indicate that the mechanicals will be screened up at the roof, but what you're looking at here is at the intersection or the corner shot of Kennedy Boulevard and Cottage Street. Going over the general project program, left-hand margin, and I apologize, it's the same information that's on this current sheet. My eyes are not great, so the text is a little bit greater. Okay, starting from the bottom of the page, bottom left-hand corner. Project before you has 7 different project uses, very unique. I think it's a one-of-a-kind project here in Journal Square. We have first floor retail, we have parking as part of this application, commercial amenity and commercial gyms. We have hotel use, a residential use, a large banquet hall at floor 54, and then a restaurant, one being at one level and one being a duplex level, a restaurant at floors 55 and 56. This application utilizes the base Zone 3 commercial center zoning. We're also adding in the office bonus, which is 2 levels. 4 levels of corner lot bonus D, and then an additional 20 stories of the MIH, which is the mandatory inclusionary housing. So this provides the height in which we need in which to achieve this 56 stories. Just to remind the board, that we are not asking for a height variance in number of feet, just in number of stories. 51 is permitted, 56 is being proposed. However, the overall height of this building at 600 feet, 9 inches, 609, 10 inches is permitted under the redevelopment plan. We have 542 units, and that includes 108 studios, 252 one-bedrooms, 72 one-bedrooms plus den, 72 two-bedrooms, 25 two-bedrooms plus den, and 11 three-bedrooms, which satisfies the requirement of the inclusionary zoning. Again, 53 affordable housing units as part of this application. That's included in the 542, and that's the equivalent of 11.6%. We have 154 hotel rooms that's scattered over 6 floors, 2 ground floor retail spaces. This application has 202 car parking spaces with 295 bicycle parking spaces, plus 8 outdoor spaces. Variance is being requested. Our planner, Mr. Bellamy, will go into greater depth. We are proposing a variance for building height and stories, as previously mentioned, tower front setback, a side setback abutting a lower density zone, setback from adjacent properties at rear lot line. It's a valet system as part of this application. There will be no tenant and or visitor using the car elevator system. We have a valet station upon the ingress and egress of the garage opening. So the valet is going to be using the car elevator system to feed the upper garage floors. That requires a variance, by the way, and head-in and head-out loading as part of this application. The building and footprint area, the principal roof is at 592 feet, 8 inches, and that's at 55 stories. The actual 56 stories at 609 feet, 10 inches, as previously mentioned, that does not require a height variance in feet. Reason why we have a trigger point where we are greater than 10% in footprint area for the residential and restaurant amenity space on the roof, therefore it counts as a story. So 55 stories went to 56 stories due to the size of the rooftop amenity space. Chair, you had previously asked for a more clear diagram. This is that slide 7 that was inserted back into the deck. What you see here is the property line in a phantom dotted line around the perimeter here of this graphic. In the yellow on the right-hand side of this graphic, or the footprint of the building, we have a 6-story portion of the podium, pretty much that runs in line with the pre-constructed podium, which is in the bottom left-hand corner of the graphic. So the yellow portion is at 6 stories. The green portion to the east and to the south is at 7 stories. The blue portion around the perimeter is at floors 8 through 35, and then the red portion centrally located is the upper part of the tower at floors 36 all the way to 55. As you can see here, we are providing a 15-foot side yard setback that abuts the lower density zone, which is in the yellow, and then the green at the south end of the page to the blue part of the podium, which is the lower base part of the podium. We are providing a 10-foot setback. Proposed first floor plan is starting in the lower left-hand corner. Let's work from the outside and work our way back in. We have a required 20-foot setback from building face to the curb line on Kennedy Boulevard. Included in that 20-foot setback, we have 5 new street trees with a interconnected bioswale system that connects each one of these planter boxes. These trees and or bioswale system are all part of the Jersey City forestry standard, fully compliant with that. As we work our way from the corner and enter Cottage Street, we are providing a passenger drop-off and pickup zone. This is for, again, tenants, people visiting the building, maybe banquet or restaurant, but this is also for short-term deliveries such as Uber, Amazon, and so forth. This passenger drop-off to the left-hand side, because the direction of traffic is working right to left. This is all at grade level. It has to be ADA compliant. If somebody gets out of the car, this is all at sidewalk line. As requested previously in previous testimony, is that we wanted to know what the sidewalk widths were on Cottage Street. Well, they vary. I'm here to give them to you. So at the corner or the leftmost part of Cottage Street before you hit the intersection, we're at 22 feet, 10 inches to the curb line. That is reduced down to 17'8", which is at the grade level part of the passenger pickup and drop-off zone. That zone tapers just due to the property line and the shape of Cottage Street. So you work your way backwards between grading, ADA compliant sidewalk, and then back up to 26 feet before you hit the driveway. Okay, we're providing a 32-foot 7-inch driveway width, followed by a quote-unquote curb cut at 39 feet 4 inches, which is a depressed curb. All the way to the right, which would be the northern eastern portion of the property, we have an underground electrical transformer vault. All the concrete around the perimeter of the building will be charcoal gray. Working your way inward here now, top right-hand corner is one of the retail spaces at 1,704 square feet. Adjacent to that is the commercial elevator. That's a requirement of the redevelopment plan. Centrally located, highlighted in the hatched area, we are providing a ingress and egress portion of the valet system. So if you're coming down Cottage Street from the east, you're going to be pulling into the upper loop where the valet will be greeting you, taking the car. So the innermost or the centrally located part of the car elevator system will be the up or the in. And then the second elevator system will be the out. So you get done parking the car, the valet takes the car from the upper parking garage, takes it down, and then you egress out on the interface or the inner lane. This way the two cars are not crossing each other as they enter the driveway. This design has been previously be approved by city engineering, and we also have county approval for the intersection at Kennedy Boulevard. Centrally located is a 4 elevator system that services both the restaurants, banquet hall, and the residential tenants. We have 2 elevators for the hotel use. At the bottom right-hand corner, we are proposing a hotel lobby retail cafe at 4,857. So a lot of uses packed into the first floor, but we think it functions quite well from a car standpoint and also from a pedestrian standpoint. Three-dimensional rendering of that corner lobby. We're proposing a 5-foot cantilevered projected glass awning that wraps from the Cottage Street side around the main lobby entry point and all the way down Kennedy to the hotel entry point. Again, we have ACM panels that kind of split the opening at the lobby location, and then we have and then we have curtain wall that runs right up the center here. Quickly dropping down to the cellar, most of the spaces in the cellar facing Cottage Street are utility in nature. Sprinkler, gas meters, bus room, cable room, and again, the transformer vault as previously mentioned. We have 25 car parking spaces in the cellar. Taking you back up to the second floor, graphic on the right tells you exactly where we are and what slide we're talking about in the building. Grand lobby, again, of considerable height, double height space. We have the cafe lounge, lower left-hand corner at 1,727 square feet. That's attached to the hotel lobby and the hotel retail cafe. We have different building amenity facing Cottage Street at 2,234, which is a children's playroom, a workspace or a WeWork space at 787, and here at the proposed second floor, we have a bowling alley at 3,334 square feet. Second rendering, again, entry lobby is at the corner here in curtain wall. We have the prismatic ACM panels that work their way down Kennedy Boulevard. Entry canopy again, where you actually hit the hotel entry. And as you can see, we have stepped or graduating balcony systems that are part of the fold of the building design. Street trees are in the foreground with an interconnected bioswale, and we have a custom low-lying gate line that matches the building. Floors 3, graphic on the right. 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all parking in nature. 47 car parking spaces. Upper right-hand corner in the northeast portion, we have bicycle parking. Fourth floor, 45 parking spaces with a generator, venting out to Cottage Street. We do have a setback at Cottage Street, a generous setback, therefore venting is permitted at that location. Level 5, 45 parking spaces, double height space for the generator and the plenum intake space. We have some bicycle parking at this level, also centrally located and also facing Cottage. Level 6, 40 car parking spaces, and again, a boiler room mechanicals facing Cottage Street. Level 7 now, we're talking about commercial amenities. Lower left-hand corner is the management office. Following around clockwise, we have a gym, a large portion of a commercial gym. At the indoor space is 8,163 square feet, a 625 square foot outdoor area for the gym, and the combined area of that is 8,788 square feet. Upper right-hand corner in this plan, we have a double height space, which is a rock climbing gym around the commercial elevator that's part of the redevelopment plan requirement. Bottom right-hand corner, we have a commercial doggy daycare, which is part of the quote-unquote office use. We have a 3,963 square foot combined space for the dog daycare.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vandermark, you said the dog daycare is considered office space?
If it's considered a commercial amenity, then it is permitted to be within the office use. Yes.
Matt, can you jump in here? Is that
I will consult the definitions in our land development ordinance
If we
and
could.
advise the board accordingly.
okay? Thank you.
Okay.
I mean, hey. What- we'll go with it for now. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Vandermark.
Sure. Level 7 amenities for the building. Just talked about that. Floors 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We're talking about 6 floors in total of hotel use. What's unique about the 8th floor is that the upper right-hand corner, again, is cut out. We have a 21-foot high rock climbing area at this location. So 24 rooms at this level. And as you work your way up, levels 9 through 13, you're looking at 26 rooms per floor. Okay, 6 floors in total, 154 hotel rooms as part of this application. Residential use, 14-floor residential. Each residential floor has 15 units per floor. Each unit size of the studios is at 553. It ranges from 553 to 596. The one bedrooms are at 625 to 684. The one bedrooms plus den are at 814 to 856. The 2 bedrooms are at 1102 to 1154. 2 bedrooms plus den at 1269. And the 3 bedrooms to be compliant with the IZO is at 1,248. So again, 15 units per floor at the average residential floor. Levels 15 through 31, 33, and 35 are all similar at 15 units per floor. The only difference is the bottom right-hand corner from levels 27 to 35, the 3 bedrooms become 2 bedrooms, plus a flexible den space. Level 32, middle of the building, centrally located, is a residential amenity floor at 12,116 square feet. Levels 36 through 50, which is now an inset part of the tower, upper portion of the tower now. Same 15 units per floor. However, the floor plate is reduced. This floor plate is 1,056 square feet smaller than the floor plate directly below it at floor 35. And at the upper floors, we are at a 41 square foot difference or deficit of what is permitted in floor area for these levels. Level 51, we're talking about another residential amenity level at 11,064 square feet. So within the building, as you can see, green, middle of the building, upper portion of the building at floor 51, residential amenity. We have 2 ownership penthouse levels at floors 52 and 53. These lucky gentlemen are in attendance this evening. Each one is at 11,690 square feet. Level 54, again, this is a banquet hall as being proposed. The combined area, we have a portion of an indoor and some outdoor area facing east, 11,524 square feet. Level 55, 2 restaurants side by side, split north and south. We have a combined restaurant A, which is the top portion or the northern portion at 6,077 square feet. And then the bottom portion is a duplex restaurant, restaurant B, at 8,216 square feet. Again, outdoor area to the right, to the east, interior area, and then you have the back of house kitchen and bathrooms facing west. Taking you up to the roof, we have facing east an interior portion of restaurant B, which is down to the south. We have 1,644 square feet with an outdoor area adjacent to it at 1,895. The residential portion does get an amenity lounge at 1,588 with their own outdoor area at 3,726. The residences also have an infinity pool at the northeast corner at 597 square feet, and adjacent to that is a 1,512 square foot pool deck. We do have a mid-mechanical level that will be fully screened by perforated panel as per the redevelopment plan. Again, in footprint area, this is greater than 10% of the overall roof, therefore being a story. This has a BMU, a building maintenance unit, centrally located, but will be situated behind the screen, but we will be part of this application, and we all know what they look like. If you look at the Journal Square towers, you can see a blue arm at the top of each one of the buildings. This building will have it, hopefully screened from view. Hopefully we don't see it. Going back to the earlier graphic, or graphic number 7, as previously mentioned, we have a series of variances that Mr. Bellamy will talk about. We did our best to increase the setbacks and these variance requests adjacent to the rear yards and adjacent to the lower zones. Mr. Bellamy will get into that. How did we get to this overall height? Left-hand graphic, 265 feet permitted in Zone 3, followed by 28 feet in the office bonus, 60 feet for the corner lot bonus D, and another 260 feet, taking you to 613 feet of permitted building height. This application before you would be permitted to have 44 residential floors. This application only has 38 residential floors. The additional 6 floors went back to hotel use. At the base of the building, as you can see, we have a hotel commercial amenity, 4 parking floors, which is included in the corner lot bonus D use, another commercial amenity level, and then residential amenity 1, 2, banquet hall, and the 2 restaurant levels. There's where your additional 5 floors came from. Going back to the corner, ACM that slowly dissipates as we get to the 35th and 36th floor with a glass curtain wall growing out of the top of this. Materials here are composite aluminum panel A, which is a darker charcoal color, which is on the horizontal of the proposed application. We have the prismatic white, which is the main field of the screening element at the base of the building. Mullions and railings, again, windows would be a charcoal gray, louvers and charcoal gray, perforated metal at the top, and maybe some of the mechanical areas on Cottage Street, and the glazing elements directly below it. Southern facing view, again, 35 stories of the ACM that slowly starts to dissipate, and then the upper portion of the building will be in curtain wall. Hatched area, again, simulates the ACM. Standard floor-to-floor heights here as part of this application are at 9'8" floor-to-floor with an 8-inch slab. We have 9-foot clear to the principal room areas. The hotel rooms are also at 9'8" with an 8-inch slab, giving you 9 feet at the principal areas of the hotel rooms. 2-dimensional west elevation with a graphic of the proposed hotel signage. Eastern elevation, and as you're going to see in the last rendering that I present this evening, The building form or the petals of the building base split open, and we have cantilever balconies that run up from the podium, which is at the 6th floor, all the way up to the roof, which is at the 55th floor. Graphic in front of you shows a rendering of east facing west. Two petals open up, dissipate left and right, centrally located cantilever balconies. As the building heights increase, the building cantilever balconies accentuate the cap of this building. In closing, the shadow patterns, based on the permitted height and what we're proposing, we are within the building height as far as number of feet. The volume is slightly different, but de minimis in the grand scheme of building form and the shadows that it casts. So, obviously in the morning, we're casting into JFK Boulevard. It's swinging around to directly across the street to Cottage Street in the middle of the day. And then the long elevation, or at the end of the day, we'll be, casting a long shadow down Cottage Street and pretty much over, the tops of the pre-existing low-rise structures in between our structure being proposed and the Homestead Place construction. This concludes my testimony for the evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vandermark.
Chairman Langston, I have an update to you on your question.
Sure.
Yeah, certainly. So, according to Jersey City's Land Development Ordinance, an office is defined as a place for the transaction of business where reports are prepared, records are kept, and services rendered, but where no retail sales are offered and where no manufacturing, assembly, or fabricating takes place. So the crux of this definition is essentially distinguishes between three categories of commerce here, where you have sale of goods, retail, manufacturing or fabricating, which would be your industrial or light industrial, and the sale of services, of which office would cover. In my professional opinion, I would characterize pet daycare as a service being offered. And just to be clear, office, retail, and hotel are all allowed uses in the office bonus. And so it would appear that a pet daycare is an allowed use.
Okay. It's official. I've heard everything in this room now. All right. Thanks, Matt. Mr. Vandermark, if we could go down to the bottom and work our way up. I do have a few questions here.
Sure.
Let's start with the loading.
Yes.
In, out. How does this operate? How are those trucks maneuvering into that spot on Cottage Street?
And we do have a traffic engineer to go over this testimony. But what I see as this truck coming, driving east to west on Cottage Street, in the left side of the street, it's going to pull directly in front or forward of the loading bay. It's going to back into the loading bay here, unload and then pull out forward back onto Cottage Street on the left side of the street itself.
If I could just interject, is this on? It's a little distinguishable from the other application on Cottage Street that this board reviewed at the last meeting, where they had concerns about the loading, and that this portion of Cottage Street is a one-way from east to west. So that, I think that's a big difference here, and that's why we're going to pull up and back in and pull out frontwards.
That's currently.
Currently a one-way, you're right. Okay, so let's go over the valet system. Where is the valet going to be stationed? Where are cars going to queue up? Because I would assume in a
We have
building with that many units, we're going to have one more car entering at the same time. And a busy restaurant on a Friday night. There's an event space. Everybody kind of gets there at the same time for an event. So how are we going to handle that queuing?
And again, I will defer the majority of this testimony to the traffic engineer.
Okay.
But as just to locate it in plan, we do have a small valet office located here, where we'll have, multiple valet attendants located in this office. Cars will be pulling into the outer loop. We have left room for 3 cars to queue within this area, okay, on the inbound. Valet collects the car at this location, pulls it up in the car elevator, and the cars continue to keep moving forward until it gets to the location in front of the car elevator to be picked up by the valet attendant and then brought up into the parking garage or down into the cellar. Meantime, somebody is leaving, and again, they will be basically queued next to this ramp and the exit door from the main lobby. Car will pull out, and this person will either be in the gray area in the center, or they'll be located here right outside the door. They will then get into their car and egress here, directly out of the garage. So we're anticipating a little queue, limited queue on the egress portion of the garage, just because somebody gets in their car, that they're typically not sitting around at that location very long, and they're just pulling out.
So how many cars can queue up going in?
Going in, internally, we have room for 3 cars. That does not include the driveway apron. We wouldn't be asking anybody to be queuing on the driveway apron, to be in conflict with pedestrians that are walking across this. As part of this application, we do have a linear LED strip in the sidewalk itself. We have a change in pattern at the driveway apron to alert pedestrians that it is a driveway, and then we have another warning indicator light at eye level. So we have 2 indicator lights to indicate this is an active driveway.
Mr. Vandermark, what's the capacity on the banquet center?
The banquet center's capacity, the occupant load, as it currently stands, is at 368 people.
Okay, so 368 people. What's the capacity on the restaurant?
356 and 280.
356, 280. Are there,
But I apologize, Chair, is that those are kind of intermingled. So you would say 356 would be, the maximum, because it would be both restaurants combined.
okay, so 368 on the banquet hall, 356 on the restaurant combined.
Correct.
Are there spots set aside in the garage for those spaces?
There would be. Now, I don't have the exact number. I think I will defer to the traffic engineer in ownership on that. So I'll hold testimony on that.
Okay. Matt, is there anything in the redevelopment plan that calls for set-asides for a banquet hall or a restaurant?
There are no parking requirements in the
Okay.
Journal Square 2060 redevelopment plans for any uses,
Even banquet halls?
even banquet halls.
Okay. So we have room for 3 cars to queue up for the valet internal to the building. Is there parking on both sides of Cottage there?
Yes.
Okay, so there's parking on both sides. How wide is Cottage? Approximate. I'm not going to hold you to
60 feet right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Vandermark, obviously, you've been in front of this board before. You know I'm a big advocate for bike lanes. Do we assume that people are going to be riding their bikes to a banquet hall and a restaurant on a Friday night?
Absolutely.
I love that answer. You know I love that answer.
We've left 8 outdoors and roughly 295 bicycle parking spaces on the inside.
Okay. So we don't think they're going to queue up on Cottage Street at all with cars?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay, so going, so let's see, going up the building, I want to get to, I want to see where the calculations come from for the bonuses. So I know you showed it, but I do want to zero in and just try and understand where the bonuses are coming into play, how many floors they're allowed, how much space they're allowed, and
Right.
you know, let's go a little slower through that if we could.
Absolutely. So left-hand graphic shows you how we actually achieved this overall height, right? Base zoning of the redevelopment plan for Zone 3 Commercial Center has a permissible 265 feet tall, 25 stories. That's at the lower portion. That is the baseline of that zoning. The two additional office floors are permitted to be 14 feet high each. So two in total would be 28 feet, in addition to the 265. On top of that, this site is
Repeat that, Mr. Vandermark?
Yeah, sure. The two office bonus floors permitted in Zone 3, each could be 14 feet high, floor to floor, with an overall height of 28 feet in total. So 265 plus the 28 feet of two floors for the office bonus. That takes you to this magic number of 293 feet before you hit the corner lot bonus. This project is permitted under the corner lot bonus D, an additional 4 stories and 60 feet on top of the office bonus and the baseline permitted Zone 3 height. So you add 60 feet onto 293. On top of that, we have the 20 stories permissible 260 feet of the MIH, the mandatory inclusionary zoning. And that is taken from a 13 feet floor height of 20 stories, takes you to 260 linear feet. So when you add up 260, the 60, the 28, and the 265, to the upper portion of the amenity, we're permitted 613 feet from grade.
Does the redevelopment plan actually calculate it in feet?
The redevelopment plan does not calculate all of these different bonuses together. They're kind of isolated separately in the redevelopment plan that you have to, you grab the maximum height from all these different bonuses and then you add them together to give you this 613 feet. There's nothing that tells you you should calculate it differently, and Mr. Bellamy will get into this, that these individual pieces get combined and together to give you an overall height.
And the bonus floors do not have a height limit, but I believe the exercise we did referred to the maximum floor to ceilings.
That's correct, and what they do in the residential portion of the MIH, they give you they give you a maximum floor to ceiling height, and that's what we used as part of this calculation.
Who did that exercise?
I did.
So you can go through the actual calculation based on the plan, the redevelopment plan, and break it. I understand the total you've given.
Yes.
I understand that you've totaled this out and you say it's compliant with the plan.
Correct.
But obviously, you've just stated that you had to go through the plan to calculate and convert to feet, if I understood your testimony.
That is correct, because the plan doesn't give you these 4 components and then give you a grand overall height. That's not the way the redevelopment plan provides the information to you, right? you have a residential maximum floor-to-ceiling height, and then you have the redevelopment plan is specific about the 60 feet. It's specific about the 28 feet. It's specific about the 265 feet for the baseline Zone 3. So the MIH, or the height of the residential floors, is taken really from the LDO. I think for floor-to-floor height. I don't want to speak out of turn on that, but I think that's where the calculation comes from.
Yeah, we backed into the height because of the maximum permitted floor to ceiling for the residential unit.
Matt, do you concur with the calculation?
So, staff did review the applicant's calculations, and it should be noted that in the 20 accommodation stories accounted for in the mandatory inclusionary housing, there was not an accommodation stated in feet, nor had staff developed a standard for converting stories to feet in terms of calculating maximum height. It's perhaps something that in good zoning practice should be more specific, but staff did not see anything in the plan that ran contrary to the applicant's calculations.
Okay. Understood. Okay. Anybody else? Any questions?
We're gonna have a traffic report later on to study.
Yeah, your traffic
What's coming
engineer
up.
will be available tonight.
But you did mention the in and out on Carter Street with the cars and then the loading dock. In the report that was given to us from JFK Transportation Report that we have here, in the driveway, they request a more 2B requests that it's be not as confusing, that it be more signage or ways of showing that that is a driveway and cars are coming in and out, loading. It even recommends that the valet help the trucks go in and out.
Okay.
Have you seen that? Do you propose anything to make that more clearer?
We
Since then, or is that this came out later on and they're still not satisfied with what you're proposing?
We have seen the letter report, and we don't have any objections to their comments and working with them to address their recommendations.
Okay.
Yep.
And the truck then, when the truck goes into that space, it's gonna back out of that space?
No, he would pull forward, and we have our traffic engineer that can testify to that those maneuvers.
Says he can't either.
How's it pull forward? How's it
He's
able to turn around inside that space?
He backs in.
Yeah, he's going to back
Backs
in.
in.
He's going to
Has to
pass the
back
opening
in,
and then back
then be
in,
able
and
to
then
go
come out
out.
nose out to have
Okay.
full view.
All right, thank you.
And council, stop me if this isn't the proper time. Is the valet 24 hours?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else for Mr. Vandermark? All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Okay, then my next witness is going to be our structural engineer, Mr. Christie.
Mike, do you
need this?
want to do one more witness before break? Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And for the record, would you state and spell your name?
Richard N. Christie, Christie.
Mr. Christie, good evening. I think we've qualified you in the past. I'm
I
not
don't think so,
positive.
because
Really?
structural engineers don't usually appear at these
I love
gatherings.
that, though. I love hearing that testimony. If you could, just go through your background, your education, your licensing, where you've presented before.
I graduated from Stevens Institute of Technology in 1985. I've been a practicing structural engineer ever since. Founded my own business, Christie Engineering, in 1992, involved in the design of new buildings, adaptive reuse of existing structures, including vertical and horizontal additions. Licensed in the state of New Jersey since
Perfect.
1991.
Okay. And do you typically deal with something of this height and this?
This is the tallest
Instance?
structure we've done. We've done plenty of high-rise buildings. We did a 25-story high-rise on Johnston. We recently completed another 25-story concrete building in Yonkers, New York.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You're qualified.
Thank you. And Mr. Christie, for the benefit of the board, did you complete a report, a structural report for the purpose of
I
this
did,
hearing?
and that,
Okay.
I believe it's been submitted, so.
And Mr. Lampia, that's on the portal. Is there? I don't think there's any need to mark it as an exhibit. Is that correct?
It's on the portal. It hasn't been updated since that, I think it's March 25th.
Now, this report is dated April 14th, 2025. That's on the portal.
There should be a report on there.
You may be looking at letters.
Yeah, there's an earlier letter, but there's a full report that was updated later.
Okay. I haven't looked at the report. I'm looking at the letter from October 2nd, 2024. I'm a little behind, I guess. There's.
So the report was updated between,
You're talking the
Yes.
civil engineering plans and,
Structural engineering.
It's a structural report dated April 14th, 2025 from Christie Engineering.
Yeah, that's the one I have. April 5th, 14. Yeah, 2025. It's identified as other. We didn't identify it as structural engineer report.
yeah, this is not a standardized document category. It was requested specifically by the chairman in previous testimony, and the applicant was happy to furnish the report, but it's not part of our standard list of required documents, and so there was no category on the Tyler system.
Okay. So which one is it? What's the?
Other?
There's a few others.
That's a default category when there's no no specific list.
is that 424 or 417?
It's dated April 14th.
414.
It might have been uploaded on the 17th. I don't recall.
That one. Let's try this. Right?
This one.
That one. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Christie. If you could just give us testimony on it, I'll
So
go
basically,
through
I
it
think I'm
as
here
we.
to speak on the structural stability that's outlined in that report and how we, originally designed a reinforced concrete building of 35 stories. 5 stories of that are up along with foundation. How do we carry that additional 20 stories, which is going to increase all of the gravity loads on the columns, the live load, dead load. More challenging is the lateral system, because now it's a taller building, it's subject to more wind load, it's subject to more seismic load. So that report outlines how we are reinforcing the column system that's already there through column jackets and capitals where needed. And we're introducing a much more vigorous shear wall system that runs up the entire length of the building, incorporating outrigger trusses, and being able to carry those loads provides lateral stability for the building down to the foundation. Luckily, the foundation itself is on bedrock, a very strong bedrock, but we do have to also increase, do footing extensions on the existing footings that have been poured, and a series of actually a lot of rock anchors to reinforce the capacity of those footings and provide that stability for the gravity and lateral loads. So
Okay, so,
I don't know how deeply we want to get into that report, but I think, we do have examples in there of, particular columns and the shear walls, the additional shear walls that are being added in there.
so I can say that nobody on this board is an engineer. So if we saw it in the report, we probably wouldn't know what we were looking at. So if you could, go into a little bit of detail for us. So you're talking about new rock anchors?
New rock anchors that
Okay.
will be installed down at foundation level around the perimeter of mat footings and some of the other footings that will provide additional capacity.
Okay, so
And
where,
also against overturning of the building itself.
okay, so where exactly are they placed? Is there more digging that has to be done? Is this
There's
exposed
not more
already?
digging per se that has to be done, but some of the slab on grade, or quite a lot of it, would have to be removed to access those footing locations and to be able to install them and tie them back into the foundations that have been done so far along with the extensions.
Okay, so they basically tie the columns, in layman's terms, tie the columns to the bedrock, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so how far below grade is the bedrock?
The bedrock is not very far below the bottom of the foundation level right now.
So not very far for you, might be different from
Few-
what?
Yeah, 3 to 5 to 8 feet, something
Okay.
like that.
I concur then,
It's
that's
right
not
up
very
there,
far,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
There's no chasms that we're dealing with in this location. It's a
Okay.
very, very sound bedrock.
Okay. So then let's go through you're beefing up the shear walls.
Right.
On the ground level as well as going up the building?
On the ground level, that's where we're adding additional shear walls, and we do have to carry those shear walls all the way up.
Okay,
And also including an outrigger truss system at the 32nd floor, so that they're not separate shear walls that are operating, differently. They're tied together at
Yes.
that level.
okay, so are the shear walls, the existing shear walls at the ground level, they're being beefed up as
They're
well
being
as?
beefed up. We've
adding
got,
more.
for instance, 18-inch shear walls that are not thick enough, that would have to be bolstered to 24. So
Okay,
they're-
so the difference between the 18 and the 24 is made up with just concrete, or is it
additional concrete,
steel
additional
added to it?
steel, yeah, it's steel added, reinforcing steel added.
Tied into the existing shear wall.
Correct, right.
So does that existing shear wall have to be partially demoed to tie into it?
Well, it not partially demoed, but it has to be machined so that it's a roughened surface, so that we can bond the additional concrete to it.
Okay, and how is
Some of that work
the,
has already begun as far as for the the existing shear walls that need to be reinforced.
okay,
How many
How many?
existing shear walls would need to be reinforced?
We
I
do-
was looking at the
yeah,
report.
we
I don't
do.
think it got into how much had to actually be done.
I don't have a count of exactly how many, but it is in our report that we submitted, which shear walls are being reinforced and where shear walls are being added.
okay, can we find it in the report?
Yeah.
I think it's page 9. An additional 23 at 234-ton rock anchors.
Yeah, we've got rock anchors. We're showing the outrigger trusses.
And page 10. 9 and 10 seem to speak to it. So an additional 23 at 234-ton rock.
Right, location of additional shear walls is shown on page 10 of the report.
Yep, on the eastern side.
Correct. So there's approximately 4 major, locations where shear walls are being added.
So, Mr. Christie, I did high-rise construction for 22 years. Now, my experience in the field, my expertise is in sprinkler fitting. So I know which way tighty is, I know which way loosey is. That's basically it. All right? So it's not a lot, but it's, it's a little more technical than that. But, I've seen high rises get built for years, and it's something that I take for granted at this point. I know exactly what's going to happen every day on a high rise. I know one way to pour shear walls.
I know what you're going to say.
So this is
I'll admit
not the
these.
way that I know, and I'm fascinated by it. And I'm trying to understand how this is going to be as strong and as stable as a shear wall that's poured as the building goes up. So I know how those shear walls and the transfer beams and everything on the transition floors transfer weight.
Right.
This is as much as,
So
this
any
floor
thickening would,
shouldn't-
it would be bonded. It's going to be reinforced. There's going to be reinforcing that's going into what's been done already. The same with the columns too, the column jacketing.
Sure.
Yeah, and I would have the same instinct that I would want a single monolithic pour. We do have that, but now we're adding to the sides of that and then bonding it in with reinforcing, with roughening the slabs, with using methods of trying to make it act as much as a monolithic thing as possible. I wouldn't want to see it halfway poured and then another. We never want to see that.
Sure.
Yeah, but to have some kind of a odd diagonal or horizontal joint, but we can do this.
Okay. And the cure time that's already started on that existing concrete doesn't affect the new concrete in how it
Concrete
bonds
is-
to each other?
Of course, the new concrete is going to want to cure itself. The concrete will always shrink.
Sure. So, again, I'm not a structural engineer. I'm trying to understand how this works, and I want to make sure that it works safely.
So do I.
I think everybody in this room does.
So would the illustration on page 11 help? Because it talks about the coupling beam jacket with the wall jack and the reinforced concrete jacket.
Correct. Yeah, and
How high does that go up?
well, it's, that is floor to floor in the existing
Okay.
sections. So that is, essentially the first 5 stories that have been poured already. But it's not being done as a single 5-story pour. It would be level by level. And that would also address some of the shrinkage issues too that could occur.
So my concern with, bonding a new shear wall to the existing shear wall and the cure time that is already started in the existing concrete versus the new concrete. And there's, concrete, as far as I understand, concrete never stops curing, correct?
Well, when you're, it's correct to some degree, but most of that is happening very early in the life of the concrete. So, in the
So
first
early,
28 to 56 days is when, you're coming. 56 days, you're coming up to your 95, 96% design strength.
Okay.
Most of the shrinkage has already occurred.
okay. So is it, and again, I've never seen something like this, and that's why I'm having
We've
trouble
done it
wrapping my
on
head
other
around it.
Projects, similar things where we've had incomplete pours on columns and shear walls, where there's void spaces, hollow spaces.
Sure.
The building's already under construction, they strip forms, we see that kind of a problem. It's,
But those are corrected
those are corrected
relatively
in a
soon.
similar manner.
But they're
where-
corrected soon, right? So as that form is stripped off,
Yeah.
and one of these
No, we're-
lovely ladies or gentlemen goes, "Oh my God,
Right,
something happened here,"
right.
and that's corrected instantly. within that cure
Within a-
time that we're talking about.
Normally, yeah.
Sure.
It depends when these conditions are discovered, when forms are stripped, when shores
Forms are stripped
are
within a
when they
day
want
now.
to remove shores and we
Yeah.
find these kinds of problems, and then direct these very, very similar methods of reinforcing through jacketing or thickening.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Christie, that's obviously a corrective procedure. It's not a best practice in terms of your design from the beginning.
My best practice, of course, would be one monolithic element.
Right.
You know, instead of relying on trying to bolster it this way. But this is what we have right now. We've got a 5-story structure, and it's still relatively new.
Sure.
It's not like it's been there for 15, 20 years and we're
No,
trying to
no.
reinforce it.
Believe me, I'm not saying that at all. I understand the relative age of it. But, according to your own testimony, it's probably at 96, 95% strength right now. Correct? I don't know when
Yeah.
these were poured, but I think it's past that
Would
time.
definitely be over 90% strength at this point.
Okay. Okay, so in your experience, that bonding process on the shear walls below, adding new shear walls,
We're reinforcing columns as well that are taking some of that loading, at least the vertical elements of the shear walls above.
okay, so that will support the lateral movement
Correct.
as you go up the building?
That will support the base load lateral movement. And as we go up the building above the 5 stories that are there, now it's all back to monolithic
Yes.
construction.
Okay, so there's no concern with that transition.
Not if our plans are followed. We did prepare a full set of construction drawings documenting what needs to be done.
Okay, so, and I don't know if this is founded or unfounded, but as you pour that building monolithically going up after the 5th story now, well, now you're dealing with one structure that's been built in the same manner at the same time. So does that 51 stories now on top of that original 5 have a different strength, have a different movement compared to something else that was poured monolithically from the bottom? And my concern is,
You're thinking that there's a hinging or something that...
Yes.
And that would be a concern that we would have too, that we would want to make sure it does not happen.
okay, so the plan that you have in place considers that, and you can say that that won't happen under this condition if it's
That is correct.
built properly
Correct.
by skilled craftsmen.
But yes.
craftswomen.
skilled Craftsmen.
Okay. Okay, very good. Skilled. Craftspersons. Yes. So, okay, so as we go up the building now, we're pouring this monolithically. What other changes happen above that
Well, we
5th floor
still
now?
are bound as much as possible to the original column layout that we have to avoid all kinds of transfers and making efficient use of what we have. We do have to add in additional shear walls above that so that we do have enough resistance to the lateral loading that we have all the way up the building, really. Of course, it's greater at the base, but we still have to have enough of a rigid structure to contend with that. So, again, we were, probably the biggest change from what we had before to what we have now is the addition of shear walls and the addition of outrigger trusses to make them all act as one with the core.
Okay, so where are the outrigger trusses?
So they're on the 32nd floor of the building, and that's what it's kind of midway up and tying everything together.
Okay, so I love it. I'm getting an education tonight. So how does an outrigger truss work? What does it do? Why is it located where it is?
Well, it's really a horizontal brace that's grabbing two separate elements and as much as possible having them work tandemly. That's probably the best explanation. that I can
Understood.
give, yeah.
So what is that brace against? That braces
That's
braces
bracing against from the core of the building out to the shear walls basically between shear wall systems
Okay, so there's new shear walls on the
on the upper floors.
upper floors towards the exterior,
That is correct. Yeah.
and they're poured from the ground going up, or they're poured just on those floors?
They're from the ground going
Okay,
up,
so
correct.
same shear walls that carry up the building.
That is correct. Yeah.
And do they stop at that floor? Do they continue going up?
They continue going up. Yeah,
Okay.
We still need that. We need everything we can get.
Sure. And is there any difference in the bracing at the top of the building compared to?
No, not
that's
as
been
much. We're
added?
really relying at the top of the building on the slabs, the concrete slabs, tying it together.
Okay.
It's-
So that 32nd floor really handles the lateral movement of
It's-
the tower?
It's doing a lot of work.
Okay. Okay.
It's helping with drift control and yeah,
Gotcha.
we need it.
Yeah. Okay. So again, I don't know if it's in the report or not, but the original memo that I saw from October talks about not being able to provide the setbacks that would make this an as-of-right project, correct?
Yeah, we were looking at, and I don't remember exactly what the proposed setbacks were on the upper levels, but it did not provide enough really footprint for those additional shear walls that we need going up the building.
Okay, so those shear walls just can't be,
I mean, if they were
Brought
pushed
in, right?
back now, they're just bifurcating the space, and there's, and they're not working as well either, because we really need, and I'm trying to, we need more distance between the ends of the shear walls. That's, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. It's like you're standing with your feet together and someone pushes you and you get knocked over, but if your
Sure.
feet are farther apart, you have more stability. So
Sure.
that's
that makes sense.
part of the reason that we're looking at.
Yeah,
at
so
that.
those shear walls carry the weight away from the core of the building. So if you bring those shear walls in together, I understand
That-
what you're saying.
There's more
There's-
overturning moment
Okay.
that we have to deal with.
So it's not that it adds more stress to the core of the building, it's just not relieving the stress on the lower part of the building?
Well, it's still, it's carried all the way down to the lower part of the building, obviously, but it's just having more, we need that distance between those shear walls, that maximum distance as much as possible, even on those upper levels, to provide that lateral stability. So if we're bringing things in tighter together, there's more overturning, there's more reaction, there's more uplift and downward load that we would have to contend with, and carrying that down through the building makes it more difficult. So that's why we were lobbying for having those shear walls out as far as we could.
Okay. So I think my last, believe it or not, my last question for you. And I don't know if you know, you're not a planner. I don't want to put you on the spot as a planner or as an architect.
I'm not an architect either.
Neither am I. So if this building was built with the step backs that maybe were presented to you when you did the original design on it, I'm not sure. But is the system that you've designed and proposed, is it specific to this building because that base is existing already?
It's part of it,
Okay,
because we are tied into what's there already.
obviously.
Yeah. And of course, as to try to get the most structural stability we could, we like to take advantage of whatever space we have.
Okay, so with a building of this size, with the base plate that space-wise that you're provided with, is it your opinion that this really is the only way to build a building of that height?
I don't think I could say the only way, but in my view, it's
The safest
the
way.
better way of doing it to
Okay.
avoid the issue of drift.
Sure.
There's some very slender high-rises in New York City that experience all kinds of problems because of drift that's occurring. that
Yes.
They never thought would happen, but now elevators are
Happens.
getting jammed and
Yeah.
there's all kinds of issues with fenestration, so.
Okay. So it wouldn't be best practice to provide setbacks on a building this height?
Yes.
On
I
a
agree.
base that's as wide as it is currently?
From our standpoint as structural engineers, yes, it would not be best practice.
Okay. Understood. Thank you. That's it for me. Anybody else? Any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. And I want to piggyback off his last question then. So if we move forward with this, if we don't move forward with this, adding the extra floors,
Okay.
we still have the shear walls for the setbacks that were proposed on the structure.
We still have the shear walls for the 35-story
the-
design. Yeah,
there'll still
Nothing's
be-
been removed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it hasn't been removed that it wouldn't be able to have the setbacks.
That's correct.
So going back to the shear walls, you said they are right now 18 inches thick?
Well, there were some that were designed as 18 inches thick that worked just fine for the 35-story version, but
You want to add
Overstep,
6
oh.
inches to it,
we want to add 6 inches.
right?
Correct.
That's true, because you want a 24, you said.
Because, yeah, correct.
Okay, so if we add 26 inches to it, and you want to bond it to the existing shear wall,
With
Is what we're looking
reinforcement
at.
steel.
so we're not going to demo, jackhammer the wall and get to the rebars that are existing inside the shear wall?
We're going to jackhammer it just to roughen the surface so that we get a good bond with the new concrete.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the floors, as you pour from, let's say on the first floor, shear wall that you're going to bond to it, I guess you would open up the floor above, so the concrete pour would be tied
Or
into.
provide cores so that we could do that, so that we could provide a full height of concrete
The full height
without
of
having without having a void spot later.
a void spot, yes, yeah, right? So would you open up the whole floor, or it's just certain
No,
sections?
just
How do you know that is not a void then?
How do I know?
How do we know there aren't voids in that floor, that it went all the way?
oh, well that's going to be done with sufficient amount of openings to provide that concrete pour and cleanouts.
Okay,
At the bottom, we'll know the volume of concrete that was poured. Of course, we'll inspect it afterwards when forms are stripped. If there's a problem, we come up with a fix.
okay. Now, the shear walls, the rebar inside of a shear wall, some of them are 1 inch thick, or
They can be very thick.
it could be even thicker than 1 inch.
Maybe thicker than, that would be a number 8 bar. We can have thicker than number 8 bar. I don't remember exactly what sizes we were specifying on this one, but usually it's bundled. It's a,
How would a number 8 bar, or let's say a 1 inch thick bar, let's go with just the 1 inch thick bar, inside of a 6 inch wall? That's not a normal practice then. To
No,
put
well,
it in that little bit of concrete.
yeah, I don't specifically have on hand the size of the rebar that we're putting into those thickened areas. But you're right, it has to have a certain amount of cover. We have to make sure that it is,
Protection around the
right.
rebar, right?
And don't forget that there's also there's horizontal bar that's tying back into the wall. And the same when we're doing the column jacketing, there's horizontal bar that gets bonded, that gets drilled and grouted into the existing, so it's all tying back in.
they're tying back in with a bonding element,
Correct.
not
Yeah.
with a, not
100%.
tied into the rebar itself.
Right.
Okay. This is an exterior wall too. Basically.
Most of our shear walls are interior walls.
Okay, okay. So there's no, we see a lot sometimes with concrete and rebar, as years go by,
Oh, yeah.
that they start to blow, the concrete, right? Because of
Once
because of
moisture-
elements and stuff like that.
The elements, moisture starts getting in, starts corrosion of the steel. It starts popping off the concrete cover.
So we have a better chance of that happening on a 6-inch wall.
Yeah, but that's an interior element too.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
And
not-
is this,
so it's not subjected to, constant rain leakage over the years.
is it the minimum 6 inches to make this work, or
It's
you
a
want to do
minimum,
more
yeah.
than 6 inches?
Either 6 is a minimum or more.
Okay, be 6 or more.
Yeah.
Okay. And that would be for the first 5 floors going up, and that rebar is going to go through the floor for the next level going up.
so that it laps
those
with-
will be tied together
Correct.
on the 6-inch side only.
On everything, on the combined, the full thickness of the shear wall. So the existing ones that are there would have bar that's extending up beyond the
That-
highest floor level, and then there'd be
Tied
anything
up
that
for-
we're putting into that thickened area, both on the walls and on the columns that are being jacketed, would go above the highest floor so that it could bond with the bar for the next pour.
Is it normal practice on a shear wall to use the same 1-inch or whatever size bar
Whatever it is, but in
on the horizontal and vertical?
the vertical is the more critical. It's taking
More
more of the load, but there's a certain amount of horizontal that has to be
That-
set in there
that
as well
size too.
to brace that vertical steel.
Okay, so, it's not feasible to make it more, we lose space, right?
You lose
You lose space in
space inside the building.
inside the building to make it
For-
a wider sheer wall.
Yeah.
But it's holding, we're holding 20 floors of
Yeah.
concrete, which
We're
more than what was.
20 more floors than what it was designed for. So we need every bit of what we're designing.
With a bonding agent that we're gonna be using, that you propose to use.
Correct.
On all the columns?
Not all of them. In fact, there's some that don't require it because we're redirecting loads into other areas by thickening some of the slabs.
Okay. And there was
Not
one,
every single one, but
one of the reports read, it felt it was problematic because if you had the setbacks, it takes the integrity of the inside columns, and it's not strong enough to hold.
there was, and I think that was from some time ago when we were looking at if we had to pull columns back and they were no longer aligned.
Right.
So we had some concerns about that.
I had
as far
concerns
as
about that.
with whatever setback was being discussed at the time. We just said, well, this means we're going to have to
Well, it's a-
relocate columns at that and have some kind of a transfer.
Your agency was against that, of anything like that.
Yeah, because we, as structural engineers, we always want it our way. We want columns to just come
We all
straight out
want
of
it
the
our
ground
way.
without any kind of transfer. Because anytime you're shifting a column over, you have to introduce a thickened beam or a thickened slab that is adding weight to the building, and it's just at another hinge point where things can happen. So that's part of the reason we were lobbying against that at the time.
At the time. Yeah.
But now we feel like we have a design there. There's a lot of continuity with the columns and with the shear walls.
And, okay, so just to end this question, and the last part is just, you don't remember the horizontal parts of the 6-inch wall that you're gonna be putting up with rebar. You're not sure what the
Well,
the thickness of that rebar is.
Yeah, but there's code minimums from ACI, American Concrete Institute, has minimum horizontal bar and spacing, and, you know, we're following that or whatever is required to give the stability that we're looking for.
At a minimum
And
or at a,
Well, we're going, I'm sure with this building, we're well above minimum, but, you know.
well above minimum? You
Yeah,
you think so?
Minimum is like a number 3 bar at 18 inches on center, where we
You have
more,
some-
much more robust than that.
Okay. All right, that's all I have right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hey, just a follow-up question for Mr. Christie, and I don't recall if you mentioned it. You did do a wind study?
We did, oh yeah, we did a wind tunnel test to get more accurate loads of what, more accurate scheme of what's going to happen with wind, so we can design it for that wind load instead of just using code prescribed loads.
And could you tell the board, you know, your conclusions of the wind study, any adverse results?
I wouldn't say adverse results. It's a lot of wind to contend with. There's a lot of lateral loading from that wind study. I think we did have a little bit of economy from what the code minimums were, or not. I'm not going to say code minimum, code prescribed, without doing a wind tunnel test.
Okay. And it just the last, just for the record, I mean, in your professional opinion, with the measures that you're proposing as part of this construction, it's your opinion that it would support the proposed building?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Nothing further.
And just to add on to Mr. Harrington's question, I apologize. And that's if it's constructed as you designed and as you recommend.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Nobody else? All right. Thank you, Mr. Christie. We
Thank you.
appreciate your time. Let's take a break, Mike. 10 minutes? Okay, we'll be back in 10, everybody. And once again, we're in an open application. No discussions from anybody.
Everybody? Can we have everybody here?
Cam, before we get back to it, can you go over the carried items again? I know there's, maybe new people in the room that are here for something later on the agenda. I don't want them to sit here all night if their items carried.
Yes, Chairman. So under new business, item 16, address 285 Liberty Avenue, case P2024-0139. They've requested to carry with preservation of notice to June 10th. And then we have item 21, case P2024-0199, address 10 Exchange Place. They've requested to carry with preservation of notice to June 10th. That's a minor site plan with C variances. And then the last item on the agenda, item 22, case P2024-0245. It's address 33 McAdoo Avenue, a conditional use, and they've requested to carry with preservation of notice to June 10th. Those are all the requests to carry.
Okay, thanks, Cam. Counsel, who's your next witness?
Okay. I have two witnesses left. My thought is to bring up the traffic engineer, and I'll defer to the board if you just want to ask questions that you have of her, or she can briefly explain how the circulation works within the garage, and then turn to Mr. Bellamy.
Let's go to circulation and then questions and then Mr. Bellamy.
Okay,
If we
thank you.
could. Thank you.
You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
The record can state the name.
Sure. Justine Fox, that's Justine, last name Fox.
Ms. Fox, good evening.
Good evening.
I don't think we've qualified you either.
No, you have not.
Okay, so many new faces tonight. I love it. So if you could just go through your background, your education, your licensing.
Sure. I have a bachelor's in science in civil and environmental engineering from the University of Maryland. I have over 8 years of experience within the industry, with the majority of that time as a traffic engineer at Stonefield Engineering. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. My license is current and in good standing.
Okay, Ms. Fox, do you normally work in an environment? Is this an urban environment? Is it more suburban?
Yeah, I work all over New Jersey. Most urban would typically be Jersey City, Hoboken, Newark. I've worked on high-rise residential residents such as this before.
Okay, perfect. You're qualified. Thank you.
Justine, do you want to plug in your computer for reference to the site?
Sure. I'm just going to pull up the architecture plan. I do believe this has been submitted to the board, but just to reference this as I'm
We need to plug
going
it in.
through.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I think I'm good. I think.
Punch it. Slam it.
Hold on. No, it's back.
There we go.
There we go.
Phew. All right.
So, Ms. Fox, you were here earlier and heard some of the
have
questions of the board, is that correct?
Correct.
So if you could just address the circulation within the site of the parking and the loading, and maybe address some of the questions you heard from earlier.
Sure. So just to reference our site, we are at the southeasterly corner of the intersection of Cottage Street and JFK Boulevard. As previously mentioned, Cottage Street is a one-way street in the westbound direction, so that is moving from the right side of the page to the left side of the page. Cottage Street does provide one lane, and there's parking provided only on the southerly side of the road. I believe earlier it might have been mentioned that's both sides, but within the site vicinity, there is only parking on the southerly side, so that's the bottom of Cottage Street on the page shown above. For our site, we are proposing two sort of access points. The one being on the left, that's the passenger pickup and drop off location. And then on the right is our access to our parking levels of the proposed development. Should be noted that the parking is not required for this development. However, we are providing 202 parking spaces across multiple parking garage levels within the building. And that is the same amount of parking spaces that were previously approved by this board as part of the prior application. So the amount of parking spaces has not changed. So when you're looking at our ingress and egress into those parking elevators, the way this would work, a car would use that left in, left out driveway on Cottage Street and pull into the garage area. From there, it's all valet. The valet operators would actually take your keys, your car into the car elevator. No visitors to the building or residents would be driving into that car elevator. I've actually done observations at a very similar system in Jersey City. It was a few blocks away from Grove Street, so similar to how this is a few blocks away from Journal Square Path Station. And we were there during that weekday peak hour. It was about 5 p.m. You'd expect to see a lot of residents coming in, bringing their cars back home. We were there for about an hour. We saw at most, I think, 3 cars leave and 2 cars come in. So we really don't anticipate that many residents would be using this garage for their daily commuting purposes.
Ms. Fox, the
Yes.
site that you saw downtown in Jersey City, did it have a banquet hall and a restaurant attached to it, inside it?
It was not specific. It was a public parking garage, so residents could use it, but anyone visiting downtown Jersey City could also use that parking garage.
Okay, and
So I'm sure people were heading to restaurants or other uses.
so how many residential units were It was a public parking garage in a building?
In a residential building, correct?
Okay, so
I
how
believe
many
it had,
units in that building?
It had, I'll go by parking spaces. It had a pretty similar amount of parking spaces, around 220, and that was over multiple floors of parking as well.
Okay, but you don't know how many residential units that building had?
I do not, but in terms of the operations here, you're really maxing out based on the number of parking spaces the building provides, not necessarily units. You know, you can have 1,000 units, but if you only have 100 parking spaces, right. So it was a very comparable size to the 202 parking spaces provided here.
Okay, and that was a valet system as well?
Correct.
With elevators or?
Elevators.
Okay, same number of elevators too?
Yes, and at the time they were only operating with one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but here we have the 2 elevators, so your cars coming in and out would always be 2 different elevators. From the time that a vehicle pulled in, handed their keys off, the valet got in, pulled into that elevator, the doors closed, and we heard that elevator click and go up, it was less than 90 seconds. So I've heard a lot of questions about queuing and concerns about that, but really these systems are a lot quicker than you would think. You know, car parking can be accommodated, less than 2 minutes. When you look at our trip generation anticipated for this building, we did a trip generation analysis referring to ITE, that's the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual.
I have a question before you keep
Sure.
going. So you're saying you saw the guy come in, give the keys to somebody, 90 seconds, car's in the elevator, it's going up.
Correct.
How long did it take the next car to do the same thing?
We never saw 2 cars at the same time.
Okay, so
Right.
basically if it's empty, I come in, I get first choice, takes 90 seconds.
Right.
What happens when I'm the third car?
I think that this could be managed with the amount of valet operators you have.
Because the situation in this aspect here, you're comparing now an orange to an apple, I think, because what you see in here is once you get to the third car, they're going to be out in the street where there's cars parked on both sides of the street and nowhere to go.
So hold on, let me get to my trip generation analysis.
Okay.
Based on our analysis, our peak trips in were anticipated to be 71 vehicles into the development. So that includes cars both who might be coming into park as well as any drop-off or deliveries. So really, at most, say all of those 71 cars were using that parking garage, that would be about a little more than 1 car a minute, considering that a customer can be served in about 1.5 minutes. We would never really anticipate that you're having 3 or 4 cars lined up. In addition, the distance between the entry of that elevator and the sidewalk was about 70 feet. So that is a little more than 3 cars long. And then the Cottage Street does only have parking on one side of the street. There is no parking on the northerly side. So you would never have any interactions with someone parked on that northerly side. In addition, that the passenger pickup drop-off area is providing an additional space for vehicles. So that 71 vehicles we anticipate coming in, that includes someone calling an Uber, getting in and out. That one vehicle that pulls into the passenger pickup space does actually count as 2 trips. The way traffic engineering trips are measured, it's kind of in and out. So that vehicle pulling in, an Uber say, to the pickup, that's 1 trip. And as it leaves, that's a 2nd trip out of the development.
Ms. Fox, if we could go back, Eddie, I don't mean to cut off your question. You just mentioned about Cottage Street not having parking on the north side of the street, correct?
Correct.
You're not considering using that for queuing, though, are you?
No, it was just brought up that there was parking, and I wanted to clarify that there was not.
Okay. I just want to make sure that that's
I have
not
a
used for
question.
queuing.
How is the parking divided between hotel and residence and the offices?
That might be
Is it like first come, first serve, or anybody?
I believe that the parking is kind of a mix for all uses. I mean, obviously a resident, if you want to lease a parking space, that you're going to have the right to go in there. And then the remaining spaces would be allocated to the other uses.
So there's no allocation.
Not unless, I think, if you're a tenant and you contract to have a space on a daily basis, then I'd imagine the plan is to provide that person always has a space available.
Was there a cap on that, Mr. Harrington?
I don't recall off the top of my head. I know I think we had talked about that in one of the prior approvals. We had an allocation, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay, but it's proposed as a public garage, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so, somebody coming to the restaurant, somebody coming to the banquet hall, somebody coming to the office space, somebody coming to the hotel, somebody coming in as a resident, somebody that just wants to use the PATH train, anybody could park in there. But spots are going to be set aside for residents first.
I think we have an allocation. Some spots would be allocated for the residents.
Okay, and how many total spots?
202.
202?
Yes, 202.
Okay, so you might set, I'm not going to hold you to it, half for residents?
No? I'm getting a no from my client.
We haven't allocated anything.
So I'm told 40 would be allocated for residents, 50 for the hotel, and the balance for the banquet hall and retail and other users.
Okay, so the rest of it, public, essentially?
Correct.
Okay, and according to my math, that's 112?
Correct.
Yes. Okay, I apologize, Ms. Fox. Go ahead.
Oh, good.
Before we move on, I just want to, for the record, it was stated in early testimony before the architect or someone did state that there was parking on both sides of Carter Street.
Right. I want to clarify that
So let's
parking is
okay,
only
so let's be
allowed
clear. There's
in
parking only because
on the southerly side along this section of Cottage
I know the
Street.
section of Carter Street, but I wasn't sure if the next block over,
Right.
you know, what part doesn't have it. I mean, it does have two sides now, but for the record, Carter Street only has one side.
Yes, and this
Okay.
between Summit and JFK Boulevard. So the other thing I'd want to address about the parking layout that was in the report was how the ingress and egress into the car elevators are set up. So they are set up in a way that's a little unintuitive to a driver, with your egress on the left, and as you're exiting, you are driving on, quote, the opposite side of the road. However, for this layout, that's actually a benefit. Your cars would not be crossing paths, so your cars can exit the driveway without interfering with anyone turning into the development, and along with that delivery space that minimizes the interaction between users of this driveway.
So I can't believe I didn't see that before. So the entrance is on the left.
Correct. That was in
You're
the
pulling
review
into
letter.
the garage, or to the valet, I should say. The entrance
Yeah, that
is
was
on
brought
the
up
left.
earlier with and we'll have signage well marked and the valet directing people in.
Where is that signage going to be? It's just on the building? Is it in the street? So as people pull in off of Cottage Street,
Right.
now you have parking on the side, the south side of Cottage.
Yeah, you would follow the drive aisles shown on the plan there. So you're
Well, the driver coming in isn't familiar with the plan.
right, but
So I'm trying to get it from that perspective.
right. You would see like valet entrance here, and it's really a benefit because you're not crossing. with
Understood.
yeah.
Until someone crosses. I've been driving for a number of years now.
Right, and
My first instinct isn't go to the left. Even if I see a sign that says go to the left.
It's
I
really
get
more you're
confused easy at my
exiting on the
age.
left.
I get confused easier at my age now. So,
Right.
you know, as I'm coming up to this entrance to a valet, and it's telling me to stay to the
No,
left.
if you follow on the plan here, as you're traveling westbound, it's a left in, left out driveway. So you're turning left into the development. It's just that
Understood.
right.
Again, I'm taking it from the perspective of
A driver.
the middle-aged man driving down the street. Now, thank you. Middle. So now I'm turning into this
Garage, correct.
valet garage. How am I going to know to stay to the left?
The arrow on the curb.
There is a light there. There is a light there, and you can make a left turn, or you can go.
Yeah, but
right
not
turn.
into the garage.
He's talking about
And
the
it- that-
garage.
Yeah, I
If I-
think it'll be
Talking about
clear that
traffic light.
the entrance would be here. Since you are approaching it from that westbound direction, you are seeing the ingress first. You would see that is the location to pull in with signage.
So where is the signage going to be? And I'm, to be honest, I'm looking at the apron. I'm looking at the curb cut. That's, you know, the average driver is looking for the curb cut. That's how they know where to pull in. They're looking for the gap in the cars because every spot is taken on that side of the street, of course. So they're looking for that gap in the cars. They're going to go, okay, I pull in here. Now they're making a left turn. And where is the sign that tells them as they're turning, oh my God, stay to the left?
And that's one of the comments from the Jersey City Traffic Department. They acknowledge that this is a better configuration for safety purposes, but we should provide for additional signage. So
Okay.
I'd submit that's something we can work with them as to what they think is appropriate. Like we can have ideas, but we think ultimately
Right.
they do it all the time. They probably have the better ideas, if you will. But that is a comment that we would want to address further with them.
Okay.
Staff's happy to recommend that as a condition of this approval.
Chair, will there be 24/7 valet attendance?
Vidya, can
Yes.
you
Yeah.
get on that mic again, please?
Mic today. Will there be 24/7 valet attendance?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's someone's going to be out there also directing people.
Correct.
Okay.
And as you're pulling in, I think the arrows shown on the ground in front of you from driving would help a driver understand where they should be following the road into this
I get really
garage.
confused. And I feel like I'm the average person when I drive. I get very confused. I'm embarrassed to say that in front of you guys. Yeah, I know, it's terrible. Okay, anybody else, any questions?
I guess if the City of Jersey City's Department of Infrastructure, Division of Transportation and Planning, driveway, number 2, it says driveway, B, section B, and it recognizes that this operation benefit of the configuration of enter into the exit lanes. It may still be confusing and unfamiliar to the site of enter into a driveway going on the left side. So,
And that's
but Chairman Lansing is saying, Chairman, it's not your age, you're not the only one. The Department of Infrastructure feels the same way you do.
But that's the same comment I was referring to. In the next sentence, they recommend the applicant install very visible signage indicating the
Yes.
proper lane
Yeah.
usage. So
So
that's
are
what
we going to get to see the signage? Did they prepare signage already, or that's not prepared yet?
No, we would agree to
Work
work
with the
them.
board to make sure the signage is what they're looking for. Sorry, and work
Usually
with
si-
the divisions to.
Usually the signage is prepared when the application comes to us, right?
Commissioner Torres, and this is pretty routine for projects in that there might be some small details that the board acknowledges that might be a small deficiency in how the project works and functions, and of course, it's always the board's discretion as to how they address this, but in the past, the board has simply requested that as a condition of approval, the applicants work with city staff to remedy the condition. It's ultimately the board's discretion, though.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, but I've been on this board a little bit to say that when we came to signage, we wanted to see the signage. And this is on my portal, so that means this was already known.
And that's your right.
A couple of months ago, maybe. You guys, they knew this already, so nobody thought about what kind of signage they're gonna present? Because it seems like this is a big concern to the Department of Infrastructure. That is confusing, and the idea is that one day, when everything is developed there, there's gonna be a lot of foot traffic on Carter Street. That is the whole purpose of of these plans that we've been looking at for the last years, you know? As things get developed there, is to have foot traffic coming from north into Jonah Square. So,
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a signage
You don't have
prepared tonight,
anything.
but
Okay.
I do, in the past, it has many comment letters. We agree as a condition of approval to address those, and that's something that we would continue to
Okay.
agree to address, and that's, I think they acknowledge that this is a better condition, is a safer condition on a one-way street going left in and left out.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions? Ms. Fox, was that your testimony?
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
I was going to just briefly acknowledge the pickup drop-off area has been extended to accommodate the increase in residential units.
Okay,
That's all.
all right, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, then I'll move on with Mr. Bellamy at this time.
Swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Sure. Samuel Bellamy, last name Bellamy.
Mr. Bellamy, good evening. We've qualified you before. Your license is current?
Good evening. Yes, it is current and in good standing. And for the record, Sam Bellamy with the firm Dresner Rodman as a professional planner.
Okay, thank you, sir. You're qualified.
Okay, Mr. Bellamy, you were present during all the testimony provided tonight?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so if you could then give the board the benefit of your opinions and reasoning regarding the requested variances.
Yes, will do. So I'll get into my introduction. Mr. Van Mark is going to plug in his computer and pull up the setback screen as I talk through the deviations. So this property is located in Zone 3. As part of this project, we are utilizing the office space bonus, the corner D bonus of the Zone 3 zone, and as well as the mandatory affordable housing requirements, which adds the provision of 20 additional stories here based on a gross floor area per unit calculation. The office space bonus encourages, obviously, office space development to maintain General Square as a mixed-use employment center. The corner D bonus applies to 3 properties within the redevelopment plan area. The subject property, the property diagonal across the street on the northwest side of Kennedy and Cottage, and then the White Castle site a couple blocks up. So it's very prescriptive bonus for certain corner properties within Zone 3, and it encourages larger buildings and additional commercial floor area. I will say, as part of that bonus, there also is a parking requirement related to the additional floor area you're getting. So not only does it allow for additional height and stories, it also recognizes, I think, those sites can accommodate parking, and that's built into that provision and bonus provision of the redevelopment plan.
Mr. Bellamy, let me, and I usually don't stop you in the middle of your testimony. So there is a parking requirement here?
For corner D bonus lots, there's a parking requirement of, let me see, one space per 1,000 square feet of commercial floor area that's added on by those 4 bonus floors.
Okay. I was under the impression that there was
So there's no generalized parking requirement. There was There's a parking requirement needed to satisfy this specific bonus condition. And it's related specifically to the ability to use the corner D bonus. And it's related to the commercial facilities added.
Okay, so it's covering the, what, office space?
No. So there are, I don't have the plan with me, correct me, I believe 4 stories that corner bonus D permits in height allowed. And so therefore, that bonus was designed to facilitate the inclusion of both public parking and commercial facilities to enhance the overall need for both commercial facilities and parking in the Journal Square redevelopment plan area. The parking is not necessarily about, and the intent of the bonus isn't about meeting on-site needs for parking, but generalized neighborhood parking needs.
Okay, but what's the number?
I calculated about 64 spaces based on about a 16,000 square foot floor plate, which is being utilized for the hotel use bonus floors.
Okay, so that's supposed to cover the hotel space is what we're saying, or that's just a general number for the area, right?
It's provided in relation to the hotel space, but it's not required to be connected to the hotel space.
Okay. Okay, understood. All right, I apologize, Mr.
Yeah,
Bellamy, go ahead.
no problem. It is a unique condition, and as I said, it only applies to 3 properties. I think this is the first one going forward with it, so. All right, and then finally, the mandatory affordable housing requirements. The purpose for this is to provide ample opportunities for mixed income housing and the creation of affordable housing. So obviously, as this project is coming back to the board as a new application, it's now subject to those mandatory affordable housing requirements and is providing that as part of this project. Overall, I think that the deviations can be kind of categorized into 3 categories. One is related to the height. The second is related to the tower and the base setback and step back requirements. And then finally, the loading and parking deviations that we're asking for that have been brought up in prior testimony. I think overall, there are a number of deviations requested, but really this project is directly in line with the intent of the zoning requirements and advances the purposes of the redevelopment plan and the master plan. This plan's a 2060 redevelopment plan. It was adopted in 2010, so we're about 15 years along in this plan. A lot has changed. It's gone through several amendment processes, part of which are adding those bonuses in as development has sprung up. So I think as the plan has advanced, it's recognized the need for the additional height and recognized additional sites that are appropriate for it. I think this project really is a staple of what the plan calls for and advances the goals of the redevelopment plan. Obviously, this project is a through and through mixed use development. Provides retail use, hotel uses, commercial retail services, dog daycare, banquet, restaurant uses, and residential. So I think throughout this plan is really embodies what the redevelopment plan is calling for at this certain location within the core of the Journal Square area. Moving into the direct deviation relief, this planning board does have the ability to grant these deviations. One, by reason of an exceptional situation brought on by pre-existing structures. I think in this case, we have the foundation that's already in place that was a part of a prior approval. Then obviously now the plan's coming back with the amendment to the plan to add in the mandatory affordable housing. So I think this is an exceptional practical difficulty to kind of work within that structure and that foundation that's built. I think that really relates directly to the base deviations that I'll talk about through my testimony. Not so much the over height of the building, but I think where our base is and where those deviations apply. I think that's tied into the kind of existing foundation that's on the property. I would lean more heavily to what I would call the flexible standard of the plan, where the benefits of the deviations and overall project would outweigh the detriments. I think that's really, how this project's been designed from the start and continues to move forward, has been designed to really recognize what the plan calls for and kind of respect those zoning requirements, allowing for light, air, and open space, and advancing the overall redevelopment plan. So we are asking for several deviations related to the tower and the base requirements. Here we do have compliant front yard setbacks, providing the mandatory required 20-foot sidewalk along Kennedy, and then a 15-foot required sidewalk along Cottage Street, which actually extends beyond that in certain situations, as Cottage Street widens from a 33-foot right-of-way to a 60-foot right-of-way as you approach the corner with Kennedy Boulevard. For the base of the building, we are requesting a deviation where a 5-foot setback of the base is required from lower density zones. Here to the east of the property, plan right, is zone 4, which is a lower density zone of the plan. So it calls for a 5-foot setback. Looking at the intent of that, I think it's kind of to recognize that's lower scale development that would be next door, and potentially add for, maybe windows along a side wall that would allow for kind of visual attractive appearance where you have lower scale buildings. I think what we designed to do is to build it to the property line to remove any essentially wasted space between the proposed development and a future development currently there, while still respecting overall light and air on the upper floors. So that is one deviation requesting. Zone 4 allows for a maximum of 4 to 6 stories. The base here is 6 stories, I think approximately 65 feet. So essentially, if new development next door were to pop up, the idea is to build it directly on the property line, abutting our property, and then having a consistent street scale, street wall as you walk down Cottage Street. So I think that's in line with what the redevelopment plan envisions, although we are requesting that deviation for the lower density zone setback. Moving on from the base, that's the only setback requirement deviation we're asking for the base. Moving into the tower setback requirements, there's a required 30-foot minimum setback from lower density zones. So again, the east side of the building, we're proposing 10 feet, which increases to I think 15 to 20 feet as you go back to the rear corner of the property. So about half of what's required. There's also a requirement of 30-foot setback from a rear property line. So here to the south of the property, you have rear property lines abutting essentially the southeast corner of the proposed building. There, again, we're proposing about a 10 to 15-foot setback for the tower of the building. And then finally, we have for a front yard tower setback, we're proposing 8 feet 2 inches from Kennedy Boulevard, and then a minimum of 3 feet 5 inches from Cottage Street, where a minimum of 15 is required. Again, as I mentioned, Cottage Street does widen in front of the property to a 60-foot right-of-way, and then Kennedy is a big thoroughfare, which has a varying right-of-way width. So those are really the setback deviations we're asking for. Overall, the plan does call for a minimum 10-foot side yard step back for towers of the building. So we're meeting that requirement or exceeding that requirement in some spots. It's really the unique situation where we're adjacent to lower density zones. But as Mr. Vandermark kind of walked through the design of the floor plates, this building has been designed to center the core of the building, the elevators, the stairs, the hallways, into the center of the tower. What that does is allow for an active facade on all sides of the building with residential units facing out. So as this property is essentially a standalone Zone 3 property adjacent to lower scale zones, I think it's going to be a highly visual building when viewing from all directions. So having that core in the center of the building and active uses on its sides, I think is a direct design benefit that we're proposing, and it would outweigh any detriments from the step back relief that we're asking for here. Moving into some of the height deviations we're asking for, starting with the minimum non-residential ground floor to ceiling height. We do have a double height ceiling floor in some portions of the first floor level. along the Kennedy frontage and at the corner. And then you have essentially a mezzanine level above that. So where that mezzanine level occurs, the floor to ceiling height drops to, let me see here, sorry, I lost it. 9 feet 10 inches is the minimum floor to ceiling height there. And then we also have a maximum residential floor to ceiling height that goes to 18 feet 8 inches, and that occurs on the 52nd and 53rd, and those are the penthouse residential floors. Generally, as you approach the upper portions of the building, there's usually a design intent to have essentially a cap on the building. So you have those penthouse floors, and then that carries over to the restaurant and the banquet floors, which have the same floor to ceiling heights and access the cap to this tower development here. And then moving into the really the big, I would say the big deviation asked here is the 56 stories, where 51 stories are proposed. So Mr. Vandermark did walk through the breakdown of how we got to the number of stories and as well as the feet. I would say there really isn't a feet cap in this redevelopment plan, so I wouldn't say we're compliant with the number of feet requirement, because essentially there is no requirement. What we did is back into what we think is the contemplated building height in feet, and that's where we got to the 613 feet contemplated overall height that we're consistent with. In terms of number of stories, as I said, the mandatory affordable housing requirement allows for an additional 20 stories based on a floor area calculation. What this project is doing is adding 21 stories, 20 of which are residential floors, including one residential amenity floor. The 21st floor is really some of that back and forth between what was previously in the redevelopment plan to what is currently, and we realized the enclosed amenity space is now above what's permitted, which is a 10% cap. That amenity floor area is broken between both residential and the restaurant use, so it kind of carries over the general mixed-use nature of the building. In addition, as Mr. Vandermark pointed out, we do have mechanical above that enclosed amenity space area, which is permitted at 20% of the roof area. So overall, I think what's proposed is centered on the building and really is in line with the cap, but it is an additional story, which is why we're asking for, a 56 story in this case. The additional 5 stories, as I mentioned, it really stems from the addition of the 20 residential stories. But generally, where we were able to pick up the additional height is through the various bonuses of the redevelopment plan. So the corner D bonus, the office space bonus, we are able to pick up additional height from those bonuses and essentially apply that to add in additional hotel floors. And that's where we're getting to the additional 5-story S. But generally, we think it's in line with what the plan contemplates in overall feet. And in addition, the design of the building was kind of intended to mask that with the curves and angles. And Mr. Vandermark really spoke more elegantly about the overall design, but I think what that does is kind of mask the overall number of stories within the building. So generally, I don't see any substantial detriment with the additional 5-story S that we're proposing here. Wrapping up with the parking and loading deviations. So as mentioned, we're proposing a back-in, head-out design where head-in, head-out design's required. I think the design of the ground floor was really intended to minimize the level of garage and loading space and maximize the amount of active space for the residential lobby, the hotel lobby, and the retail uses. So at this prominent corner location, I think that is an appropriate design. And as our traffic engineer testified to, I think what we're proposing with the queuing space allows for adequate queuing to access the garage. And the redevelopment plan does contemplate both valet parking and automatic garages within the plan. Finally, we are asking for a maximum driveway width deviation. That's at 32 feet 7 inches, where a maximum of 18 feet is permitted. that consolidates both the parking garage entrance and the loading space. It allows for two-way access into the garage as well. The loading zone, I think, was minimized again to focus in an area and then allowing for the active uses at the corner. And then finally, we are proposing a street drop-off lane as shown that will accommodate everyday deliveries, rideshare uses, as well as just typical stopping in deliveries on the street there. So I think that's appropriate for the space. Again, the Cottage Street does widen here, so I think it won't interfere with the overall access to the site. Wrapping up, I do think the overall benefits here would outweigh the detriments. Again, I think this project really does embody the mixed-use nature of the plan and is specific to the site, given some of the unique circumstances at play. The project does advance the purposes of the municipal land use law. I think it will guide the appropriate use and development of the site. Again, all permitted uses within the plan consistent with Purpose A. It is an appropriate density on the property near the Journal Square station, near the core of the Journal Square, consistent with Purpose E. Certainly provides sufficient space and appropriate location for the mixed uses for the project, consistent with Purpose G, and would promote a desirable visual environment through this tower and the base development, consistent with Purpose I. Finally, I think it's also consistent with Purpose J, which is to conserve energy resources and natural resources as part of maintaining the existing foundation on the site and building off of that, accommodating for the mandatory affordable housing here. Finally, I don't see any substantial detriment to the general welfare here. Again, I think the building's been designed to provide for adequate light, air, and open space, centering the tower on the base, providing active frontages on all sides. I think this design really embodies what the tower and the base requirements call for, although it does not meet the prescriptive requirements here. And then finally, I don't see any substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of the zone plan or zoning ordinance. I think throughout my testimony, you heard how it advances the objectives of the redevelopment plan, so I won't go into listing all of them, but it really does reflect what this redevelopment plan calls for. With that would conclude my direct testimony. I know it was lengthier than normal, but I think this project warrants it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bellamy. Let's start with the elephant in the room. So there's already a base that's constructed. So you're considering that a hardship as far as the step backs go?
I think it directly relates to the base setback requirement, the 5 foot. And then you heard testimony from our structural engineer, but as you go up the building, I would really rely more heavily on the flexible standard, the benefits outweighing the detriments. But you did hear the testimony of the benefits of kind of proposing the footprint that we are on the upper floors.
But then at the end of your testimony, you're considering that base already being constructed a benefit because of the environmental concerns of demolition.
Demolition, reconstruction, correct. I think it advances that general purpose of the municipal land use law. But again, that's one of many that I did mention in my testimony. But I think there are elements there that advances that direct purpose.
Some foundation, huh? Okay, so if we could just go back to the setback from the low density zone. So 5 foot's required, correct?
For the base.
Yes,
correct.
for the base. So 0 is provided. And once again, your reasoning for that is just to maximize space.
I wouldn't say maximize space. I think what it does is allow for a consistent development for if that adjacent site were to be redeveloped. I think providing a 5 foot space and then a blank wall, I think you essentially have a dead space there that likely fills up with trash as it goes on.
Of course.
I think there are benefits of providing a complete streetscape. I'm really trying to look into what the intent of that 5-foot requirement. And like I said, it might be to have a more active wall on that side, knowing that the adjacent development might be a lower scale. But here, I think we kept it at 6 stories, which is what the Zone 4 can go up to. So I think our intent and our hope is that adjacent redevelopment builds up to that property line, and then you have a complete active street wall along Cottage Street.
But you're not advocating that it shouldn't be a 5-foot setback according to the redevelopment
No,
plan.
that's what the redevelopment calls for.
But you're not saying that that was a mistake, are you?
No.
So that was intentional.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's to allow for
But
the
it was
active.
intentional next to the lower density zone.
That's
correct?
Correct.
And it's still a lower density zone.
Yeah, unless the property gets rezoned, it's Zone 4, lower density, capped at 6 stories.
Okay, so we're putting it right on the property line because maybe in the future it may be rezoned.
I think that's
is one thought process.
That's the benefit of what we're proposing versus what the plan calls for.
Okay, and, I do agree that having that 5-foot in there next to a neighboring property, it's a spot that garbage is going to collect. But now you're putting this project on the property line, so now that garbage is still going to collect, but now it's your neighbor's problem,
Yeah,
not
that's
the applicant's problem.
that's a valid point.
Okay.
Yeah, with the current development that's on the property, it's I think a 3-story,
And it's occupied, right?
As far as I know.
Okay. Do you think they know that that's the intent? It's not the intent, but that's the effect of building right to the property line, is now all that garbage is their problem. So I don't know if they're here tonight. I hope they're here tonight. But, that's the effect of putting that right up to the property line.
Yeah, and I think these are real problems. Anytime you have, a redevelopment plan such as this Journal Square one, which,
It's an aggressive plan.
It's aggressive, and it gets developed, over 50 years could be the lifespan of these projects. So it is a
But in the
real
meantime,
concern.
that 3-story house next door now has no setback from this property.
The house itself has a setback on its own property.
They have their own that they've
Yeah, we're not
provided.
proposing an additional
Yes,
5 foot as required.
They have their own that they're required to provide.
Yeah, they have windows, so I think by building code they have to have.
Sure, but this application is also required to provide that setback and is choosing to ask for the variance.
Correct.
Based on, hopefully, I shouldn't say hopefully, but hopefully in the future that property is bought and developed into something larger and it's no longer a low-density zone.
I think it still remains a low density zone, but it would be able to obviously connect to our building. So yeah, that's I think the design benefit of what we're proposing. But obviously, as you mentioned, there are certain impacts from what's currently there. From a light and air open space, shadows cast. I think 5 feet doesn't make it or break it here.
Not at that point, no, I agree.
And especially when you have now a 56-story building. I mean, shadows are going to be cast, but I think that's what we see it as the benefit of providing a complete street wall. And that's generally consistent with urban design practices, I think,
Sure.
of having attached buildings.
But a 3-story house that has, I don't know what their setback is from
It might
this
be 3
property.
feet. It's probably, 3 feet.
Okay, so you're talking a difference of 3 feet versus 8 feet between a 3-story house and a 56-story building.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, that entire row is 3-story houses.
Until you get to
Both
the Homestead,
sides. Sure.
Homestead Place new constructions.
Agreed.
It's probably a run of 10 to 15 homes, I would say.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I completely missed the case for not providing the step backs off Kennedy and Cottage. If you could just go over those one more time for me.
Yeah, so there's a 15-foot front yard step back required for the tower. That applies to the property line, not the base of the building.
Yes.
So let me just get the exact dimensions here.
I'd just like to correct an error on the record with regards to the side yard requirements in Zone 4.
Sure.
So for Zone 4, which, as Mr. Bellamy mentioned, allows generally multifamily construction up to 6 stories, the side yard regulation, where the adjacent building is greater than 4 stories or where the adjacent building is built on the lot line, side yards are not permitted within 10 feet of right-of-way except where required by fire or building code to accommodate adjacent windows. And so as that reads, I think if, and this is if, obviously it's not reflecting current condition, just if that property would be redeveloped, it would likely be redeveloped on the lot line, the adjacent property. Just to clarify, I think you mentioned a 3-foot side yard.
I was referencing what's there currently, but
You're
I agree
referencing
with-
current conditions.
I agree
Okay.
with your point. there.
Yes, I misunderstood your context there. I thought you framed it as a requirement.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
thank you.
under current conditions is what I'm
Understood.
referring to right now, and until that condition is rezoned or that property is bought, that condition still exists.
Yeah, I mean, not rezoned, but redeveloped.
Redeveloped.
But yes, and that is right. And I think,
But in that, I'm sorry, in that low-density zone, how high can you go right there?
6 stories.
Okay.
Which is the height, I believe, is the height of the base. Is that correct?
Okay,
Yeah.
so if it was 4 stories to 6 stories, they could build on the lot line.
Correct.
Okay, understood. All right, thank you.
Sorry, we're on the front.
That's all right.
front yard setback. So we're proposing 8 feet 2 inches from Kennedy Boulevard. That's the minimum. It's not an exact straight line parallel to, so it does widen in some spots. And then we're proposing a minimum of 3 feet 5 inches from Cottage Street. I think generally we're just trying to not center the mass, but move the mass towards the corner where you have greater right-of-way widths, provide a greater step back from the neighbors, from the lower density zones, and center that to the property to the corner. So I think, from the architectural standpoint, the design kind of works with what's being proposed, the tower extending up from the base. I think the mix of the facade materials, the curves and the angles, I think is proposed to help mitigate those deficient setbacks.
So you're essentially saying you're moving the building further towards the Cottage and Kennedy side to provide light and air to the lower density zone.
Yeah, to increase, that's where we're proposing the massing to extend from. Obviously, we're still short on those.
But you're not providing the setback.
Right.
Correct.
That goes up 6 stories next to the 3-story house next door that is the low density zone. So you're moving the tower, but leaving the base exactly where it is and have it on the property line.
Yeah, that's what's being proposed, correct.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Any questions for Mr. Bellamy?
Just want a clarification on something there too. So if there is no setback, I don't know if I thought I saw it the other day. I'm not. Just want to be clear on something that if maybe you pick your brain if you know it. As it goes up, the structural engineer was talking about the wave of the building, the movement of the building, and stuff like that. Would that have any effect on the base going to the property line to any other building that would be alongside of it there?
I don't want to speak for a structural standpoint because
Okay,
I'm
I understand that.
not
but
sure.
I thought that was brought up on one of the notes that I had looked at. Is there, as it goes up the building, is there any infringement on the properties next door or any of that?
Like over the property line?
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay. Can before we vote, can I ask that to the structural engineer that question?
Oh, we're not even close to voting yet, Eddie.
Okay.
I wish.
I'll be next
It's a lot of people that's here to speak tonight. So let's finish up with Mr. Bellamy and then, okay. Anybody else for Mr. Bellamy?
No.
Okay, thank you, sir. Eddie, do you want to get a question off to Mr. Christie?
Yes. I think we should. I would like to understand if that's a, yeah,
We'll bring them up.
okay. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Question is regarding drift over property lines?
Over the property lines, if it was brought closer to the next property line of anything that was being developed next to it, would that have an effect on that property line, on those infringement on those properties?
And it is a normal thing that we design for when we do drift calculations to determine what the maximum drift would be under a wind load or maximum wind load, maximum seismic load, and we do keep it within the property line with a clearance so that there's no
So it wouldn't be a structural
knocking together of
problem.
the buildings
It wouldn't be a structural
or even-
problem for those people that have the property next door to that property.
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Mr. Christie. Counsel, are we there?
We're there. That completes my presentation. I believe the board's heard enough. I don't think I want to reiterate everything.
Chuck, I have a question. This commercial building and everything, do you have any affordable units?
Yes, that's the point of this application. The prior approval had none. This one will have 63 affordable units.
63.
Yeah, 11.63. Right? 63, 11.6%.
And what's the AMI? It's 80 or it's 50 there?
It'll, excuse me, it'll be a mix under the IZO. So you'll have a mix of very low income up to 30% AMI.
Okay.
A mix of 50% up to 50% AMI, and then some that are up to 80% AMI. And they're
Okay.
required to have a mix of unit types as well. So it's not all studios. You're maxed out at 20% studios and ones, and then the rest have to be a mix of twos and threes. So minimum of 30% twos and 20% threes.
Not one of those penthouses though, right?
No.
That would be a nice one. That would be nice. And obviously, council, you know, I usually bring this up later, but those affordable units, number one, they're built to the same standard as the rest of the market rate units in the building. There's only one entrance and exit to the building, and they don't have a separate entrance.
No, absolutely. They would be built to the same standard. That's a requirement under the IZO.
Sure.
And they have to be mixed throughout the building. There is no.
They're not
designated
designated to
floor.
this apartment in this corner all the way up.
No.
Their location is throughout the building.
Yes.
It's mixed, yeah. Yeah, years ago I saw one, I forget actually no, I remember the building, I just won't say it. But that one unit with the wonky column that came down, that was the affordable unit going all the way up the building. So, okay, good, that's not the case. Okay, anybody else, any questions before we do public?
No.
All right, let's open it up for public comment. If anybody's here from the public that wants to comment, please come on up. We'll swear you in. We'll give you 3 minutes.
Swearing testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
For the record, can you spell your name and give us your home address, please?
Chris Capers, Ward F, last name Capers.
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you.
All right,
You can
good
put your
evening.
hand down.
All right, good evening, council. Like I said, my name is Chris Capers, resident of Jersey City over 30 years, member of the Laborers Local 3. I'm in favor of the project. Like I said, this project transforms a sleepy intersection of Kennedy to Boulevard into a bustling center of community and commerce near mass transit, in line with the goals of Journal Square 2060 redevelopment plan. So I'm proud to support it because it promises 63 affordable housing units. You know what I mean? I think that's warranted right now in Jersey City. Also, we desperately need guaranteed job opportunities for my brothers and sisters that's here right now at Local 3. So please vote yes, and thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Good evening.
Sworn your testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
And for the record, just pull that mic close. Can you state spell your name and give us your home address, please?
Laura Whitelaw, LAURA, WHITELAW. My address is 525 Davis Avenue in Harrison, New Jersey.
Good
Hello.
evening, sister. We have 3 minutes for you.
My name is Laura, and I am a member of the International Union of North America. I would like to express my support for the development of 2966 Kennedy Boulevard. This project brings much-needed housing, retail, restaurant options, and jobs to Journal Square. 2966 Kennedy Boulevard, with its mixed-use design, attractive exterior, and guaranteed union construction jobs for LIUNA Local 3 members, is the type of development that benefits all of Jersey City. Please vote yes. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. And you mentioned guarantee union jobs. Is that for all unions or is that just the laborers? It's okay to say you don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Do you swear your testimony you give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
For the record, can you state spell your name and give us your home address, please?
Sure. It's David Johnson, 31 Raleigh Road, South Brunswick, New Jersey.
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm here as part of Labor's Eastern Region Organizing Fund. We support the variance for the Imperial Towers. LIUNA Local 3 represents 2,500 members in northern New Jersey. And I'm happy to say we reached an agreement with Euro and Sunny Kumar to perform work on the Imperial Towers project. This is going to mean work for our skilled union members, many of them here in the audience today. And as a result, we are here supporting the variance of the project. And hopefully some of the workers, as my brother before me said, making union wages can afford to live in the Imperial Towers as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, brother. We appreciate it.
You swear your testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And for the record, can you state spell your name and give us your home address, please?
Manmeet Singh Vasdev, MANMIT SINGH VASDEV, 225 St. Paul's Avenue, Jersey City.
Good evening. We have 3 minutes
Good
for
evening.
you.
It's an exciting project. We need one as a landmark in our ward where I reside. It's about 2 blocks from my place. It's something exciting where we don't need to travel far for different kind of restaurants, nice accessibility to parking around. You know how Jersey City is now with parking, especially Newark Avenue, Cottage, and Van Winkle. It's crazy. Thank you, Sonny, for the parking. It's a public parking and closer to Journal Square. It's an easy commute. Thank you so much. Please vote yes, and let's do it. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
You swear your testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, we have to.
For the record, can you
Yes.
state spell your name and give us your home address, please?
Okay. My name Prince Yunus. I'm consulting Dublin in human rights. I am I live in
Spell your name for me.
Prince Yunus. You live in
Your last name for me.
sorry.
Spell it.
YOUNESS. Prince PRINC.
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you.
Okay. Okay. I am living 19 Reservoir Avenue. I have on my house already 72 carriage front this building there already. This in house already live for my granddaughter. Granddaughter, every time you come in, you see building coming up. You see, I love this already coming small Manhattan, Jersey City, small Manhattan. I love this area, and I love this already. I love, thank you, Sonny. I love this already coming, big building already, because my granddaughter coming live in cottage soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You swear your testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
For the record, can you state spell your name and give us your home address, please?
Sure. My first name is Dario, Dario, last name Gutierrez, Gutierrez. So I don't, 36 Magnolia Avenue.
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. I don't know the developer, so I'm not going to thank him like everybody else. But, a few months ago, I guess last year, right, this board, approved a rezoning that, would hopefully create affordable housing in this part of Journal Square. I live on Magnolia Avenue. I don't live too far away. I think, so one thing that I've noticed in meetings that we've had, community meetings with developers, they want to create affordable housing under this new plan, but one thing that they're sort of concerned about is financing, right? So without a sort of a proven example of a building being built under these rules, the lenders are kind of wary about doing it, right? Here you have a project that's already 5 stories out of the ground. It could be, in a year and a half, it could be topped off, it could start leasing, right? Having that example of a proven development under these rules will accelerate the process, of other projects coming with mixed income housing and, coming in under these rules. So, yeah, I think this is a project that has solid benefits, concrete benefits in itself of 63 affordable units. I think also, I'm a believer that market rate housing is also in short supply. So, I think that's great. And I think just the general effect of promoting, the construction of more of these mixed income, buildings and affordable housing is great. So, I know that there's a lot here, but these variances, I think the benefits outweigh the detriments, like the planner said. I hope that you will consider approving those variances. And thank you to all of you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
According to testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
For the record, can you state, spell your name, and give us your home address?
Anupam Verma. I own 36 Van Ripen Avenue.
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes.
Thank you. So the neighborhood is changing and buildings are coming. It's looking better, beautiful, and more buildings like that is bringing a vibrant community and all the changes to the neighborhood. On top of that, this building specially brings more affordable units, and it as well as it brings more work to the people and all those community, different kind of works and all that stuff. So I would support this. I would encourage more buildings with more affordable units. Please go ahead and approve this.
Okay, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
I
And if you
request
could
to be-
just acknowledge that that you're sworn in and are still under oath
Yes,
tonight.
KULOWSKI for the record.
Okay, thank you. We have 3
I would
minutes
like
for
to
you.
ask you, Mr. Chairman, to...
Ask me.
Sorry?
What? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Ask you to allot me more time, unlimited, just as equally as Mr. Harrington.
Sorry, 3 minutes.
Because I have 5 seconds per every item.
I don't
So
know how
that's-
many items you
make
have,
Make it
but
impossible
it's-
for me to inform you and you to make an informed decision.
So I'm going to give you the courtesy of resetting your timer.
Thank you.
To 3 minutes, and it'll be 3 minutes, sir.
Mr. Kumar was twice convicted fraudster prior to going into construction business. Okay? Then he committed many frauds on the top of it. He hires illegal aliens, human trafficking, crosses the state lines, not paying taxes, not paying insurance, not paying workers' compensation on illegal aliens because they cannot. Now, no public notice have been placed at the construction site. This is city policy, which is illegal. It violates due process under the 14th Amendment. I'm going to just go over the titles. Number of OSHA violations on other construction sites Mr. Kumar has open.
Sir, comments related to this project. You can't talk about
Okay,
other projects.
Yeah, but he cannot
Sir,
even...
you cannot talk about other projects.
Okay,
Limit your
Mr.
comments
okay,
to this
let
project.
Let me continue, please. He brags about bribing Mr. Fulop. I mean, how bad can it go?
Again, sir. Your comments have to be related to this project.
Well, bribing mayor of the city is related to this project, isn't it?
Sir, enough. Move on to comments related to the project.
Okay. He has no means of finishing this project because he has many lawsuits coming up from his frauds.
Sir, do you have any comments related to the
Yes, I do.
project? Or are
Now,
you
just
just
let
going to
me talk.
badmouth the applicant?
Let me talk. Now, at this construction site, Mr. Kumar illegally took over Cottage Street for his private use. So he demonstrated that he has no consideration for us. So how can how Mr. Kumar be considered to be allowed to proceed with this project? Now, also, I allege that there is money laundering involved in this project because there is no way Mr. Kumar can...
Sir, this is a land use board.
I'm sorry?
This is a land use
Yes,
board. We are here to talk about site plan applications and variances under the law.
Yes.
We are not here to talk about allegations of money laundering. So
Yeah,
if
but
you
it's-
could please talk about the project. I understand you don't like the applicant. I've got that.
That's
and you
Chris-
I
think
don't
that-
like any fraudster.
And you think he's a fraudster, and
Yes.
you think he's all sorts of bad things.
Correct.
Got it.
Well, he's twice convicted already.
Got it.
Yes. Okay, so let me... with regard to this project, on the Cottage Street side, he provides 5 feet of clearance for the sidewalk in order to accommodate the drop-off. This drop-off is too close to irregular intersection. There are 2 lanes there, and people from this drop-off point will be crossing into the blind spot of people coming from south side of Kennedy Boulevard going towards north, right, at an angle. So they won't see then, and they'll be crossing the other line on Cottage Street because there are 2 lanes there, right?
Right.
So that should never be approved. And on top of that, why we should allow our public space to be used for his private use? Because he extending on both sides, extending sidewalk into the public street, right? According to what I saw on those drawings. The yellow line which you see on the drawing, which was shown, right? That's the original. So he extends the curb towards Cottage Street and then cuts out of this the drop-off place. Another thing...
Thank you, sir. That was your 3 minutes. Go ahead, Ms. Burke. Come on up.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
And for the record, can you state your name, give us your home address, please?
Charlene Burke, CHARLENE, BURKE, 56 Duncan Avenue.
Ms. Burke, good evening. We have 3 minutes for you.
Good evening. So I have a few comments to make about the project. The first thing with the sheathing, that's all glass. Can we make it bird-friendly design? That's a really big concern, especially in migratory times like we're experiencing right now and in the fall. And buildings like this, there's many bird strikes that have really led to the demise of many endangered and certainly unique birds, and we're right in the flyway. Second question, stoves. I'm curious about these things. They were talking about energy efficient. I'd like to know, their stoves electric or gas? Their heating, is it electric? Water, is everything efficient? Faucets and showers? We're talking a hotel here. And I, as a resident of Jersey City, am continually concerned about our water depletion of our reservoir. We are not unlimited, and we build these buildings that have lots of tenants, take lots of showers. You know, when you're in a hotel, you don't care about the water bill. It's built in, right? You want to take 3 showers a day, you can take it. So I have concerns about this. And as a resident, if I'm, put on restrictions because of buildings like this, I have a concern that we're approving them, all right, for their usage. Another thing, connect to infrastructure. I want to know if our infrastructure has been improved or upgraded by the MUA along the boulevard or along Cottage Street, or are we connecting to 50-year-old, 100-year-old sewers, water lines? Exactly what are we connecting to? I'm sorry, we have a lot of problems. Sip Avenue was closed for months because of damage to our water system and the sinkholes it created. Do we want to create more of that? Or do we think of this in advance of putting in this kind of a building that draws on these kind of resources and infrastructure? And then lastly, I appreciated all the questions about the parking and the 90 seconds it takes for that very young person to grab those keys and get in that elevator. How long does it take them to come back to get the next car? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? After he parks it on some other level, and then what, is he running up the stairs? Or is the elevator coming back up again? I mean, they were giving the very optimistic timelines of how it takes 3 cars to get into those elevators. But we all know, just in elevators, even we as people have to wait for an elevator come back down to get into it to go to another floor. So,
Thank you, Ms. Burke. That was your 3 minutes. We
All
appreciate
right.
it. We'll
Just
get all your
wanted to-
questions answered, though.
Thank you.
Council, can you address, I have 4 questions for Ms. Burke. We'll get to you in 1 second, ma'am. Mr. Harrington, come on up. While they're fresh in our minds, let's get these questions answered.
Sure, I'll see if I can address what I have down in my notes, unless, you see if I miss.
Bird-friendly glass,
You-
low efficiency fixtures, heating, is it electric, stoves, electric, gas?
Right, so
that
it's-
kind of thing. MUA connections, are they old infrastructure? And how long does it take for a middle-aged valet to get back to the ground floor
Got
after
it.
he drops the car off?
Got it. So, and as far as the bird-friendly glass, we can't commit to that for the entire building. I mean, that's a whole nother gorilla that you'd have to address. But my architect advised me that he just went to a seminar on a similar issue, and then most of the bird strikes are at lower levels, and we have a lot of solid material at the lower levels. So, it's unfortunate it happens, but we can't commit to that. The stoves, it's all electric, I've been advised, so that's consistent with what they're looking for, and that the water would be low-flow systems. The infrastructure, they have connections there. I know they're working with the MUA. I don't, I'd have to, bring up somebody else to address any further, but I know that, the MUA has already signed off, on the connections. Parking with the valets, it's not going to be one person. It's going to be multiple valets. So it's not going to be one middle-aged or one 20-year-old running up and down. It's going to be multiple people. So it's not. They will be. One goes in, the next guy gets the other, just like any typical valets that you've gone to.
Okay, thank you, Council. And is there an executive order in place to ban low-flow shower heads at this point? I thought I saw that on the news.
I don't know. I mean, I could.
It's an adventure. Every day's an adventure here.
Well, let's strike that executive order.
All right, we'll try.
Well, let's get it built before it goes into effect.
You never know. All right, anybody else from public, please come on up. No, I can't. I can't stop.
I do. Natalie Limon, Natalie Limon, Lim as in monkey, On as in Nancy, 55 Wales Avenue.
Good evening. We have 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. I was very inspired by Mrs. Burke's comments, and I just want to say that in terms of when we're looking at several significant variances, I think it's entirely reasonable to ask for something back from a developer, such as bird-safe glass, especially within the average strike zone. And I know that there are organizations in our city that are currently doing some studies and taking data to see just how much this is occurring in Jersey City. And it will be published soon because it's happening right now. But I think it's an entirely reasonable ask, as well as to ask for energy efficient appliances and things of that nature. I also represent the Hudson County Tree Allies. I wasn't sure what the plans were for street trees for this project. I don't think it was really discussed, although it might have been there. There is an obligation for all new developments to provide street trees, and that the pits and other things need to be according to forestry standards. That's 9 feet long. So we definitely, another thing, the least the community can get in return for such density and profitability is street trees, which benefit everyone, including the people who will be living in this building. And then finally, I just want to say regarding the valet thing, there was the mention of a 20-year-old, a middle-aged person or whatever. There also was the issue of how many elevators, because it doesn't really matter. So, and I think that when someone said that they had been watching the traffic and how many cars, I think that was probably a good day. So it is a consideration to think about how long it will take for each car to be valeted up and for the next person to be able to get up and down, things of that nature. Just don't want to be dismissive of that point. But variances for the bird safe glass, we really should do that. I think there's going to be a massive amount of profitability in this project, and I think that they can manage it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Please come on up. Sure.
Yes, I do. Michael Vago, VAGO, 76 Gautier Avenue.
Good evening. We have 3 minutes for you, sir.
I just wanted to second concerns about street trees. I think that's a very worthwhile thing for the neighborhood, given the lack of green space around Journal Square. But I also wanted to revisit the bird strikes. My wife runs Jersey City Birds, a birding nonprofit in Jersey City, so I've heard a lot about this. You don't have to commit to the entire building. Bird strikes only tend to happen in the first 100 feet. So I was wondering, can you commit to bird-proof glass in the first 10 stories? Because that's really where bird strikes occur. Migrating birds generally don't fly that high. The vast majority of bird strikes are on the lower floors. So that seems like a reasonable ask.
Interesting. And I want to just ask you a question about it, but anything else?
That's all
for your comment? Okay. Where is this data going to be available on the bird strikes when the studies are done? Because we hear about this in waves. Sometimes public comment, we'll have a few meetings in a row where public comment will address bird strikes, and then it's 6 months and we don't hear about bird strikes again. And then, maybe a couple come back and it's on and off for us.
Well, I think that depends on who comes to the meetings, but
of course,
the statistics don't change.
But we generally approve big buildings every meeting here, so I'd like to know what the data is myself.
Sure. I mean, I could find that out and bring it to you, or you could look that up. But I think.
Well, that's my question. Where is it going to be available where can I look? There was mention of a study
being done. Are you familiar with that, or you're not familiar with that?
That was not mentioned by me, but many studies have been done. I mean, I recommend Google for a start.
Okay.
But also, my wife runs a burning nonprofit. I can get that information from her and.
What's the name of the nonprofit, if you don't mind?
Jersey City Birds.
Jersey City Birds. Okay, excellent.
For bird watchers
check it out
in the city, because we do have a lot of wildlife and green spaces, and she wants to call attention to that. But I would say that just because you don't hear about the concerns every week.
I understand. Believe me, I understand. I'm just looking for some kind of study that I can read.
No,
on
of course. But the information is out there. This is just something that I've heard mentioned. I know is a concern for all of the high rises that are going up.
Sure.
And it's been applied inconsistently because the city doesn't have any ordinance about it yet.
Of course.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody else from the public? Please come on up.
I do. Robert Fu, 414 Fairmount Avenue, spelled F as in Frank, U. And I just want to follow up
Good
about...
evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you.
Okay. Just want to follow up about the bird strike issue. Standards, there are standards that exist as to best practices to prevent bird strikes. The architect, will know where to look this up. The city of Newark and the city of New York have bird-friendly glass requirements in their building codes. So the standards are out there and can be easily looked up. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody else from public?
Seeing no more public, I move to close the public.
Okay, motion made and seconded to close public. Council, can you address the street trees for us? I know there wasn't a lot of testimony on that.
Yes. We actually were compliant with the street trees, and actually, in addition to that, on the Kennedy Boulevard side, we're actually doing bioswales.
Yes.
So, we're going above and beyond what you would normally see.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, dresses it up along Kennedy Boulevard. And then just again, we're not dismissive of the bird strikes, but we can't commit to that. And I note that, in the first like seven stories or so, we've got a lot of panels, aluminum panels on the building. That's where the parking is. We also have a lot of spandrel panels. So those, are not your clear glass. So while we can't commit to it, we think that, we hope that, it doesn't happen as often as it would otherwise.
Okay. Thank you, Council. Mike, are you okay? Okay. Matt, do you want to give testimony?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Chairman. I think as Council mentioned in their opening statement, it's worth reiterating that this is not an amendment to the previous approval on this site, but it is a brand new application that comes with some implications with regards to how the board should evaluate the variance requests. So I guess first and foremost, every variance, it's like it's brand new, and the board has to look in the existing context of what's before them today with regards to what the applicant presented and the information the board has had the chance to weigh and decide whether for each variance request do the benefits outweigh the detriments. These are all C variances, and so that is the standard. And obviously, in the previous iteration of this project, some of these variances were granted, and in the context in which they're asked for now, some of them, the implications are similar to last time, and, but for example, with regards to height, obviously going from 31 stories to 35 versus 51 to 56, that's a different context. With regards to the setbacks and the massing of the building, you're extending those variances in the tower, the base variance farther up. And so, weighing the delta and those impacts is important. And furthermore, I believe, and the structural engineer, stressed that some of the, structural context that weighed the applicant's decision to apply for some of these tower and the base variances, they weighed that a lot of it is really independent of the existing base there. But it should be clear that under, New Jersey planning law context and generally how you evaluate what is, I've heard the word hardship thrown about. The existing structure on there is what we call a self-imposed hardship, therefore cannot be used as a justification for a variance. And so you have to look at the benefits and the detriments of the proposed variances independent of that. And you can't lean on, oh, well, they can't do anything else because the existing structure there. And so it's about, do the variances provide, what benefit do the variances provide? What are the potential detriments? Do the benefits outweigh the detriment? And with that, I leave the board to ponder their decision. Staff in their report dated January 31st, 2025. This was a long time coming, this project. Did mention that should the board choose to approve this project, that staff recommends 6 different conditions within the memo. Is the applicant willing to agree to those conditions?
Yes, the applicant would agree to those in the event of an approval.
Furthermore, staff would like to recommend a further condition to work with traffic staff to address any potential driver ambiguity as to the proper usage of the drive aisle, and putting in whether it's any sort of raised guiding curbs and signage and the like to make sure things are as unambiguous as possible.
And that would be acceptable too. I think it's probably covered by condition number 2, but it's certainly acceptable as a separate condition as well.
Thank you, Chairman. Council.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. So before we entertain a motion, does anybody need to deliberate on record? Or do we just want to go right to motion?
Deliberate or pontificate? Let's go to motion.
Okay. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, at this time, make a motion to approve case P2024-0210 as presented to the board tonight with the 6 conditions and the addition of the work with traffic staff with the drive aisle.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
So this was a very interesting presentation. Our job, I've been on the board for a long time, and you have some of these are easy, some of these are a little harder, some of these are easy to deny. This one was a little tough because there was as Matt said, we have to weigh as testimony is going on in our mind whether or not the variances are justified, and if the presentation is satisfying to me and to each of us. We have to do that individually. And as you can see, we vote. We don't pontificate and then vote together all at the same time. We each have our own. And this is a beautiful thing about this board, and we all live here, and we love when the public comes out. But having said all that, and I can talk a lot about this project. And Mr. Vandermark, in his he's architecturally artistic all the time. It's a wonderfully presented project. I think that each variance that was presented, although not totally all de minimis, are justified, and they do outweigh the detriment. In my opinion, I really believe that. We don't care about the applicant's past. We just don't. So, having said all that, I think at the end of the day, and the final analysis after the presentation, I'm going to vote aye, and good luck. Continue to work with your neighbors, obviously, and carry on. I vote aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
So I looked up the International Bird Strike Committee, and I see nothing from them in terms of buildings, so much as they talk about airports and aerodromes. But that being said, because I do respect that opinion, when I see people like Dario and Michael and Prince come out, guys who I know work in the neighborhood, Dario lives in the Hilltop, but he's been very active in the Journal Square Civic Association. He was a board member, and he's raising his beautiful family in that area. To come out and support this for building and for affordable housing, that strikes me. Then when I see guys, and the brothers and sisters from Leuna Local 3, who had a big rat on Kennedy Boulevard last year. But I think that speaks to you, Sonny, in the sense that what Mr. Christie had said, in terms of I could design it, but I would need, you would need the right people. I think engaging and turning people like Paul Roldan and Ray Polino around took a lot on your part, and I think it speaks to your character. So, and I think you're going to get the right group of people to execute Mr. Christie's plan and Mr. Vandermark's plan. And I live in the area. I think Mr. Vandermark's work is stupendous. And so I look forward to bowling. I look forward to eating in restaurants. I don't look forward to the traffic. I'm a little skeptical about that, but I think Mr. Bellamy made the case and Chuck Harrington did. I vote aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Well, everybody knows I'm a fan of affordable housing and parking, so they have both the things here. It's my area, India Square and Journal Square. So I live here for 40 years and I can see the changes in Journal Square and India Square. With this, this thing, we'll have 500 apartments, we'll have a hotel. There is no hotel in Journal Square where we can stay. The tourists could stay. They have this hotel, 154 rooms. And of course, this elegant community on India Square and Journal Square, everybody will be happy to have this project. And of course, for me, I say the planner has done the best thing to have such a nice building coming up on Journal Square. People will be happy, I'm happy, and I'm going to vote aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
Commissioner Gangadin.
So I want to thank the public for coming out this evening and for your comments. This project is really a one-stop project, and it's an all-inclusive, meaning hotel, banquet hall, residential, commercial spaces. I think this will be the second project in Journal Square, if I'm not mistaken, Chair, that will have affordable units.
So, yes, as far as I'm aware, 701 Newark was the
Which
first.
we're setting the standard here for, and I'm very happy about that. What convinced me here this evening is based upon the recommendation of the structural engineer. Christy, your report, I'm pretty satisfied with that, and with the added load enforcement and with skilled workers. That's key to this project, skilled workers. But based on the variances, my opinion is that it's not detrimental to the project. Very unique building, very different, and it will be a great addition to Journal Square. I vote aye.
Commissioner Torres.
This project is, it's been a lot of reading. A lot of reading over the weekend on this project. A lot of going back and forth. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. I'm sitting down and there's a few things that I want to point out. One is the traffic study. I think when we get a traffic study, we need a traffic study of the area that we're studying. This hotel is going to have convention halls. This hotel is going to have a banquet. This hotel, and they're not only on Friday nights. Conventions come during the day, during the weekday. And we all live in Jersey City. I have to drive Kennedy Boulevard every day. There's going to be traffic. So traffic studies should be done in the area that the study is being looked at. That is number one on that one. That I would like it to be clear from now on as we move forward with other projects. Affordable housing. I spent my childhood in downtown Jersey City, and I grew up with some people getting arrested for affordable housing in downtown Jersey City, so people didn't have to move out. So I do like the affordable housing part of this project. Finally getting to talk with the labor force that's in the room today, it's a plus. It is a plus. But this project has one gap that's not movable. I started in the construction business pouring concrete. That's what I did. Poured a lot of concrete, a lot of walls, saw a lot of rebar, walked a lot of rebar, and I still do it to this day. I am not convinced that we could put 20 stories on top of a piece of property, and just because we're going to say it's a hardship, it's not a hardship. There's a building there. So you want to clean the environment. Let's not knock the building down. We'll save the environment. Well, then let's build 35 stories. We'll save the environment. 20 stories on top of a building that 3 letters from Christie Engineering are not 100% convincing that it could be done safely. They say it's going to be done safely. Maybe we could connect it this way. They said it could be done safely. Maybe we could build the wall this way, 6 inches thick with 1 inch rebar. And I'm giving you the minimum size rebar. 1 inch rebar. You go to the islands, you go anywhere, you ever see 20 years from now, our vote has to be for a building that's going to last 100 years, not what it's going to look like 10 years from now. What's it going to be like? What is those walls going to be like that are holding up 55 stories? And it has a 6-inch bonded wall attached to it. It has anchors attached to a foundation of bedrock. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop on that one. I think there was one more thing I wanted to say. Before I move on, let me double check. I hope they still agree with the thing, but I love affordable housing. I'm going to say that one more time. I cannot vote for this project. There's no way. There's no way I can vote for this project because somebody wants to get a little greedy when they came up with 20 more that you could build 65 affordable housing units. We'll put 20 more floors up. If you really want to do it and you're really concerned, knock the building down and start all over again. That's the way I look at it, and I vote no.
And Chairman Langston.
So, brothers, sisters, thank you for coming down. Sonny, you got a good group here. All right, you need skilled labor to build this building. You got a good group here, okay? That being said, I completely 110% agree with Commissioner Torres here. I think there's too many what ifs here. I think there's too many uses crammed into this building. Can you speak into the mic, please? Sure. I think there's too many uses crammed into the building. I still don't know if the floor calculation, how many floors are allowed, how many stories are allowed. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that calculation. I know there's the foot calculation versus the stories calculation. I think there's an issue with the floor calculation. And I think the parking is a disaster waiting to happen. I think this valet system, for the number of spots that we're talking about, is not going to work. We're talking about a banquet hall here. I know a lot of us have been to the Liberty House for fundraisers. Think about everyone getting to the Liberty House at the same time. All right, fundraiser starts at 7. We're all going at 6:30. What is that What does that road going up to the Liberty House look like at 6:30, guys? That's going to be Cottage Street with 2 elevators taking cars up and down into a valet garage. Mr. Vandermark, I hope everybody rides their bike there, because this is not going to work the way it's proposed. And the thing I'm wrestling with the most, and I know Mr. Christie has the report, and I think the best case scenario here is that he's right. But God, what if he isn't? What if, just the slightest thing goes wrong here? I think we're cutting it too close. It's not clear cut enough for me that we can put 21 stories on top of here. The affordable housing, yeah, love it. Love it. But at what cost? And I haven't felt this way about a project in so long, where I'm not okay with this. And I've been wrestling with the affordable housing aspect. It's so much affordable housing that we need in Journal Square. And it's not right. I can't sleep at night and vote for this project the way it's proposed with this height and building on that base. I think the case for the variances aren't there. It's not a hardship. It's not a hardship that we're building 56 stories on a base that cannot handle it, in my opinion. So my vote is no, and that's all I can say about it. So thank everybody for coming down tonight.
Motion carries 5-2.
Thank you.
All right, Mike, you need a break? I need a break.
No, it's 9:41. It's 9:41.
Just these two.
20 minutes.
No? All right.
Wait.
No, poor you.
Mike needs a break.
Do you need 5,
Yeah,
Mike?
Mike needs a break.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He needs a break. 20.
Okay, let's get back on track. We'll come to 1 Journal Square in 1 second, but I want to get to item 9 under new business, review and discussion of certified artists Minji Zhang and Brian Camilio. Formal action may be taken. Cam?
The Artist Certification Board deemed them certified artists under category 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and City Planning staff agrees with their analysis, and we recommend you approve them to be entered into the lottery for the artist housing. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you, Cam. Any questions? Anybody?
No.
To our audience? No?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Is there anybody here from public that wants to comment on artist certifications
Saying no
tonight?
public, I move to close the public.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Cam, we have your recommendation. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve as presented the review and discussion of a certified artist, Minzy Zhang and Brian Camelio, and forward to City Council for formal adoption.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gongadin. Commissioner Torres. Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai. Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries all in favor.
Thank you. Let's move on to item E, is case P2024-0127, preliminary and final major site plan with variances for 1 Journal Square Plaza, also known as 2965 Kennedy Boulevard. Testimony was taken at our March 25th meeting for this.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. And just to clarify, this is for preliminary only, not preliminary and final. That was set forth at the last meeting as well. But at the last meeting, I guess before going, Chairman, you pointed out that there were different commissioners at the last meeting, so we can confirm that everybody read the transcript.
It's
Yes,
the same people from the
ones.
last
So
case.
we had, let me bring up the email real quick. I don't remember what that was.
Nope.
Okay, so we had myself, Commissioner Torres, Commissioner Gangadin, Commissioner Lipsky. Doc, did you have a chance to read the transcript?
I did.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Desai, did you have a chance to read the transcript?
Yes.
You read the transcript? Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Patel? Okay, thank you. Waive quorum.
Okay, thank you. So at the last meeting, there were concerns about the proposed loading design, and we were asked to go back and take another look to try to solve that, and we have a proposed solution to present to the board tonight. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Rodriguez, who is the architect of record and was sworn in at the last, well, qualified at the last meeting as well.
Okay, thank you.
I do. Juan Rodriguez, Juan Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez, your license is current in May?
Yes.
May? Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Good evening, everyone. So just for the board's benefit, we're still looking at essentially the same project that you saw last time, 2 28-story towers, 657 units. We had 81 parking spaces in the previous application. We still have those same 81 spaces. Just for your reference, pulled up here on the screen is the seller plan that we showed you last time. In the previous plan, we got some feedback about the loading operations and how that would kind of interfere with the traffic flow along Cottage Street. We heard your comments, and we've adjusted the ground floor loading area so that the external loading has been removed, and now truck turning and maneuvering is happening fully inside of the garage. So you'll see here, this is a plan that has been submitted and uploaded for your review. This is a diagram showing essentially a 30-foot box truck, which would be the typical truck that would be used for loading operations in the building. A garbage truck is actually a little bit smaller, so this works for both loading of the building, but also for garbage removal. But essentially, a truck would move west on Cottage Street. They could head into the garage, and they have 2 striped off areas on either side of the garage door for their maneuvering. As part of this application, as part of this change, we've also removed 2 variances that we had before. We had a variance for a 40-foot loading berth where previously 35 feet was proposed, but now we've been able to provide the full 40 feet for the truck space here on the left side. And we also previously had a variance for the head in and head out operations, and now we've removed that because the truck will be able to head into the garage and head out as required by the redevelopment plan. This also it required us to just kind of reconfigure some of the internal mechanics of the garage. We've adjusted the internal car ramp connecting the internal parking levels. This also triggered us to be able to keep the same parking count. We added 8 tandem spaces, which previously we had no tandem spaces. So that's essentially the depth of the changes. There were no other changes, and you're looking at the same project that was testified to in the previous hearing.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
I knew you guys could do it.
Perfect.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, perfect.
That's it.
Nailed it. All right. Any questions, anybody? Okay. Anything else, council?
No, that's all.
Okay, is there anybody here from public that wants to comment? Please, come on up.
KULOWSKI for the record.
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you, and let's keep it on topic.
I be allowed more than 3 minutes.
Negative.
Okay, for the record, it violates due process and the 14th Amendment.
Okay, your clock is running now.
Okay, now, the problem is with this case and across the street that you allow so-called traffic study to be introduced, and this traffic study does not address the one across the street or even on Cottage Street down towards Summit Avenue. So you have all these traffic studies are frauds because they do not calculate what actually is there. This does not address the guy across the street, 296, the previous case. Now, the picture presented last time of the rendering of this building did not show 3 Journal Square, which will be right next to it. It will be obstructing view. So that's why I think it's a kind of fraudulent upon you by Mr. Harrington to present this way. So any rendering would have to provide actual view of buildings that are already there existing. Now, 380 bicycles, where are you going to put them on the street? That's a lot, right?
Are you looking for a bicycle traffic study now?
No, but it should be included, right, in the traffic study, both cars and bicycles, correct?
I think it's a great idea, yeah.
Because the 380, that's a lot of bicycles.
It is a lot.
I do own, I have 2 bicycles.
Okay.
Okay, so, but I only ride one at a time.
Well.
Now, public notice have not been placed at this construction site. I say this is a due process violation under 14th Amendment. The time and again, it's a policy of the city of Jersey City and this board not to force developer to place an actual ad that we applying for variance or whatever with the city, and you have a right to know, and this is the time of the board meeting and so on. The only large city in America that does this, like total clandestine operation. Now, what kind of public notice? The 3 days this agenda was placed on the internet last week, right? Like few days in advance, and only on the internet. So how do people have to know that there is board meeting regarding this? Nobody in this neighborhood at the Cotter Street at Kennedy ever heard about this project and this variance that we now dealing with.
Thank you, sir. That was your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have more, but you're not allowing me.
Well, that's not outside of your 3 minutes, so. Anybody else from public?
Seeing no more public, I move to close.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed.
I'm going to stand in for Tanya today. She has a memo that she authored dated January 24th, 2025. I've reviewed the application materials as well as her staff memo. This is a preliminary site plan with C variances. There are 2 recommended staff conditions. One just reiterates the fact that they come back for planning board approval no later than 3 years after this preliminary approval. And at the time of final approval, the applicant shall submit a new and current traffic impact assessment when potential other approved buildings may be built. Stormwater management report and street tree proposal. Has the applicant, is the applicant in agreement and would be able to comply with those conditions?
Yes.
I believe that comments that were made at the previous hearing were clearly heard and addressed with this new loading area. Staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you, Matt.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve case P2024-0127 as presented to our board tonight.
Okay, motion made and seconded for approval.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
I like it. Aye.
Commissioner Gongadin.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres.
I like the project. I started my career on our first 2 buildings, and I see that it's still giving back to the trades and the people working there, making it a bigger thing, making it better, and changing. With change, things get better. So with that, I vote aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
Yeah, I love it when professionals go and make it easy and we can get these things done in 5 minutes, so I vote aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Aye, thank you for accommodating us, and great job.
Thank you for hearing us.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Motion carries all in favor.
Okay.
We'll be back in a few months to put 20 more stories on it, though.
Love it. I love it. We'll give you all the time in the world. Guys, can I borrow 5 minutes from everybody? I'd like to offer 5 minutes, council. Can you make it happen?
Yes.
Yes.
I have 2 witnesses.
what I suggest is that I begin, give you my name, tell you I have two witnesses. At least it'll be an old business for next time around, and we can, it resolves
Fantastic
your
idea.
problem and resolves my problem.
Fantastic idea. Okay, so let's call item 10 as case P2024-0178. Is the review and discussion of Fayette Broadway redevelopment plan amendment, zoning requirements for Zone 3. Formal action may be taken.
My name is Eugene Paolino from the law firm of Genova Burns. I'm here for the applicant. The applicant is listed in the Avenir and West Side, West Broadway Corbin LLC. We have a site plan, a redevelopment plan amendment, an amendment. You've recently passed the redevelopment plan, I think in September. We were ready in September, but the planning division thought that we needed to add some things, and we did that. So with that, I have two witnesses that I would present and give you a preliminary statement, and I understand that we'll adjourn at this point. Is that right?
I would appreciate it if we did, counsel. I don't feel like
I
we do our best
understand.
work at this hour
No,
of
I
night after what
understand.
we've been through tonight, so
Yeah, I understand. I was sitting here, I heard what you went through.
at the next meeting, yeah, I know. Kim, can we guarantee the applicant first at the next meeting under old business? Unless there's an extension in front of it. I know we have.
Okay, yep.
And counsel is saying
That's
he has
the
two
27th,
witnesses.
right?
May 27th.
I can present my witnesses today, but I suspect that you would all prefer that it be done on another
Please.
day, but I don't want to be lower down in the agenda.
So I think what we're more comfortable saying is that we'll take a look at the agenda, which we don't necessarily have, but it's already been mostly mostly called for already because we're moving things 2 meetings out. But we will list it. There's no problem with notice here because it's a redevelopment plan amendment. So we will list it, and we'll leave it up to the chairman.
Okay.
Not we call it.
You
for the
listed
next
as,
meeting.
listed as old business is
It'll be under old business with testimony taken.
commenced. Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you, counsel.
May 27th.
So we're going to carry to 2/7, yes.
2/7, day
So
after
we're gonna carry
Memorial
to-
Day.
Oh, God, it is. Okay.
No,
So,
we're going
away.
No, Memorial Day is the weekend before.
No,
Yeah,
last
the
Monday.
20-something. Yeah. I'm going away that weekend.
Memorial Day is May 21st.
It's not the 21st. The 23rd is the Friday, Saturday, 24th, Sunday, 25th. 26th is Memorial Day. 27th, we're going to see Mr. Paolino again.
I appreciate that.
And I don't like to call it old business,
How's
Chief,
everyone
when you're up here, okay?
Thank you.
So
All
to be
right.
clear, Memorial Day is May 26, 2025, according to my iPhone.
Thank you.
It's on the last Monday of.
Okay, so we're going to carry that,
Our next meeting's May 27th.
and we'll carry this application to old business. We're going to carry this application to old business, May 27th, our next regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you, counsel.
Thank you.
Okay,
And you
so
won't need to renotice. This is an application for an amendment.
we're going to
redevelop.
preserve your notice tonight. So you're fine. Okay, thank you. Okay, so Cam, should we start calling the rest of the applicants?
Yes.
Pretty much everybody in the room still.
So, Mr. Burke, you'd be the next on the agenda.
Mr. Burke beat me here tonight.
I have to give Cameron credit because he said he didn't think we would
I know.
make it tonight, and he
We're
was
close.
right.
We're
So,
close.
But anyway, Jim Burke representing the applicant. As soon as we can be heard at whatever meeting in the future. I am going to be away that 1 week, but I'd rather have Stephen Joseph or someone from his firm take it over. I don't want the client to be delayed.
Sure.
If we're going to be on the 10th, that's fine. But if we're not, then I'll punt this another lawyer so the client doesn't lose an extra 10 or 12 days.
Appreciate that. Cam?
June 10th.
June 10th.
Oh, okay. I'm back.
Okay. Thank
All
you,
right.
counsel.
Thank you.
And that is case P2024-0158, minor
And,
site plan.
just for the record, we'll carry any kind of time for the board to decide to
Excellent.
that date.
Okay, thank you, counsel. We appreciate you. All right, so let's go down our list.
James.
Who's next? Case P2024-0147, 301 West Side Ave.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening,
James
counsel.
McCann from the law firm of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant in P2024-0147. Applicant consents to carry.
Cam?
Okay, this would go June 10th with preservation of
Applicant
notice.
agrees to June 10th.
Okay, and is that your last one on here,
Yeah,
counsel?
it's the only one I have today.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you
enjoy
for
your
your
night.
time, everybody.
Okay, so let's bring up Mr. Joseph. You have a bunch in front of us.
I
Let's
have
start with P23-024, 772 to 788 West Side Avenue.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say about this one is that this is a little bit of a special case. It's been carried actually since December. It says January on here, since December, because we had to renotice, and we were going to be heard at the last meeting that we were scheduled at, but we had a last-minute recusal from former councilwoman. So anything the board could do about that one in particular, we'd appreciate. But
I hear there's a big thing on June 10th. It's clogging up.
June 24th is
I heard that rumor too.
the only thing we could do. June 24th is your
Counsel,
best
June
option.
24th is the best.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So we're going to carry that to June 24th.
The third meeting after.
You have Neptune Ave as well?
I
Mr.
have,
Joseph?
yes, I have Neptune. That's P2024-0207.
Cam?
Oh, that would also be June 24th. Everything else is June 24th.
All right. So also P2024-0173. That's 359 Johnston.
Okay, so we're going to carry that.
Also P2024 -0165. That's 221-223 Nunda.
Nunda, we're going to carry to June 24th, Cam?
And
Okay.
P2024-0227-209 Holiday.
Holiday. Okay, so we're going to carry to June 24th as well. Thank you, counsel. And that's all with preservation of notice?
With preservation of notice, with consent to tolling the board's time.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good
Tom
evening,
Lean
Counsel.
on behalf from Connell Foley. I have P2024-0185. I request that it be carried with preservation of notice to
June 24th.
June 24th.
Okay, thank you, counsel. We'll carry to June 24th.
Thank you.
Mr. Harrington?
Yeah, I have P2024-0208, 158 Van Wagenen. I have it as number 20 on my agenda. I'm not sure if that's the most recent one.
I have it as 19.
19, okay. So I'd ask that that be carried with preservation of notice, and we consent to an extension of any time. That's it.
Okay, so we're going to carry that to June 24th?
24th, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, counsel.
Thanks.
And that closes us out. Can we have memorialization of resolutions, please?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to memorialize the following resolution. I have one. Applicant is VRL PLP Services LLC for preliminary and final major subdivision approval, Harborside Place, Block 11603, Lot 19.01, Jersey City, New Jersey. Case number on that was P2024-0180. And that'll be my last. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cam, roll call, please.
Vice Chair Dr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Gungadin.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres. Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Sai. Commissioner Dr. Desai, Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries all in favor to memorialize this resolution.
Okay, thank you. Executive session, anybody? No. Okay, motion to adjourn from somebody? Motion to adjourn? We did. Thank you, guys. Have a good night. I appreciate you guys.